New Testament cigarettes. I smoke them. He smokes them.
Never took a lesson. Self-taught. Next year, Philly, my hand to God, she's going to be at Carnegie Hall. But you, I let you have her now at the old price, okay? Which is anything you want to give me.
Anything you want to give him? Well, he's worth a lot. That's Woody Allen, the incomparable Woody Allen, of course, who is the subject of this special edition of At the Movies. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Some filmmakers are born and others are made, and Woody Allen, I think, belongs in the second category. He started out as a stand-up comedian, and in his earliest movies, he seemed happy to stick pretty close to that original orientation. But in recent years, with movies like Annie Hall, Manhattan, Broadway Danny Rose, The Purple Rose of Cairo, and especially his newest, and I believe his best movie, Hannah and Her Sisters, Woody Allen has grown into one of the finest and still one of the funniest movie directors in America today. That's why we're doing the special edition of At the Movies about the man who once said, "Life is full of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's over much too quickly."
He's also one of the finest writers in America, too.
The Woody Allen character says at the beginning of Annie Hall that he had a fairly normal childhood, but then we see his whole house shaking as a roller coaster rockets past the living room window. A lot of his humor is like that. He has mundane hopes and fears with a background of the bizarre and the ridiculous. Woody was born in the Flatbush area of Brooklyn, and as a teenager he sold jokes at 50 cents apiece to New York gossip columns before he got his first real job as a gag writer for nightclub and early television personalities. He remembers those days in a scene from Annie Hall.
Stop right in the middle, and then I open with some jokes. Now, that's where I need you right there. For instance, like going away from me.
I don't know how much longer I can keep this smile frozen on my face.
Well, before long, Woody himself was standing in front of audiences as a leading member of the late 50s, early 60s generation of great original stand-up comics like Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul, and Bob Newhart. His humor was personal and confessional and intellectual, and just the opposite of the comic that he plays in this scene from Broadway Danny Rose.
See, you know, Danny used to be a performer himself.
Yeah, sure. Well, he worked at Catskills. Right. Yeah, did all the old jokes and stole from everybody. He was exactly the kind of comic you think he'd be.
Tell me, God bless you, darling. Let me ask you a question, sweetheart. How old are you? Just tell me how old you are.
81.
81 years old. Isn't that fantastic? No, really. She's 81. It's fantastic. It's just unbelievable. You don't look a day over 80. No, I mean, I'm just kidding, darling, really. I love you, sweetheart. You're really, really beautiful. What sign are you, darling? You know what sign you are?
What?
What? She says what? She's great.
As Woody Allen grew more successful as a comedian, a writer, and a movie director, he grew more and more self-conscious about his fame, and in recent years, all of his films have been shot in secrecy. He doesn't even give them titles until they're ready to be released. It'll be Woody Allen's winter picture, Woody Allen's summer picture. He confesses that he's not sure how to handle the role of famous movie director, and you can see that in this scene from his autobiographical movie, Stardust Memories.
Do you find it very hard to direct yourself?
Hard? No, I just have to resist the temptation to give myself too many extreme close-ups.
That's at one of those seminars where directors try to intellectualize about movies that were not intellectualized when they were made. Woody Allen explained himself once by saying he was obsessive about things. A line of thinking, he said, will appear in his mind and work its way through his conversation for weeks and months and then eventually end up in the mouth of one of his characters. He said also once that he had not been blessed with the two great requirements for a happy life, religious faith or the ability to deny the essential tragedy of life. When those were being passed out to other people, he told me what he got was the ability to write one-liners.
And aren't we lucky? Now, you go back and tell history of Woody Allen and what his roots are. I'll tell you one story he told me that was kind of funny, because one of my favorite scenes is in Annie Hall, when you see the little Woody Allen character being hectored by his uncle, Joey Nichols. And the guy says, and he slaps a nickel on his head, "Joey, you know me, Joey, 5 pennies. And we see the little Woody Allen character walk right in front of the camera and say, "What up?" And I can't repeat the last line. And I said to him, "Were you like that kid? Did you find adults insufferable?" Always trying to be, he says, Absolutely he was. So here is this little kid who always saw through the pretense of things. And that's what we see running through a lot of his films. He sees through the pretense of relationships. In Annie Hall, we see the subtitles. He sees through the pretense of relationships in Hannah and her sisters. He sees through the pretense of a lot of things. And he's been seeing through that.
But there's another level there. He does see through the pretense as a child, but also as a child he envies the fact that adults seem not to be able to see through the pretenses. In other words, these people over here don't realize how ridiculous they are to think that they can fall in love and have a family and be married and live happily ever after. And here's little Woody over in the corner, and he'd like to fall for those pretenses, but he can't. He's caught by his intelligence, and so he's left to make jokes about things that I think secretly sometimes he envies. I may be a little too deep there, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, but remember when that couple walks across the street in Annie Hall and he says, they're so perfectly matched, Shelley Hack, he says, why are you so happy? And he says, we don't have a brain in our heads. I don't know that he envies them. But there are still plenty of Woody Allen fans in this country who long for his good old silly days. He gets that complaint all the time for films like Take the Money and Run, one of my favorites, where if you recall, Woody plays a cello in the high school marching band and he has to keep picking his chair and the cello as the band moves along. That's a classic scene. Or in a film like Bananas, whereas Fielding Mellish, I love that name, he is caught up in the middle of a banana republic on the brink of revolution in the jungle. Funny stuff.
In the event of snake bite, you make an incision and you suck out the poison.
Snake bite! I got bitten by a snake! I got bitten by a snake! Help!
Suck out the poison. Roger, I want to just tell you one quick story. I took two of my nephews. They were aged 9 and 8, I think, at the time of that movie. To them, that is still the funniest scene in any movie they have ever seen in their lives, and they've seen a lot of movies since then. Allen would film many more gag-filled movies like that one, including the almost surreal Sleeper and the goofy everything you wanted to know about sex.
I think Woody Allen keeps growing as a filmmaker. His films have been mostly about his difficulty, every man's difficulty, in establishing a long-lasting relationship with a woman. Here's a series of scenes from 3 Woody Allen films spanning 9 years. Watch how he grows more competent as a lover and as a filmmaker. We begin with the first film he directed, Take the Money and Run.
Are you in the Philharmonic?
Yes, I am, actually.
Oh, that's right.
Here, Woody Allen has fallen hopelessly in love with Janet Margolin, but he can't talk directly to her about his feelings, so he tells us about them in narration, in a primitive movie style that sounds like one of Woody's old nightclub routines.
I know I was in love. First of all, I was very nauseous. You know, I never met such a pretty girl, and I guess I'm sensitive because, you know, real beauty makes me want to gag. Plus, I don't know how to act with girls. You know, I'm shy, and I'm just nervous around women. I have a tendency to dribble.
In Love and Death, Woody can at least talk to a woman, but she takes the lead when it comes to sex.
Be lonely at the front. How long has it been since you've made love to a woman?
What's today? Monday, Tuesday, 2 years.
Remember that?
Yes, that was just like kissing, right?
Love and Death is a costume drama, a more polished film than the last one. And even though Woody still acts like a sexual bumbler here, he's beginning to have his potent moments.
You're the greatest lover I've ever had.
Well, I practice a lot when I'm alone.
Hope springs among his longtime fans for a return to his classic comedies. You can accomplish that all by yourself by renting one of his early favorites, and one of mine is Love and Death, available on home video. The send of many Russian novels. Allen has a leading role in this story of a condemned man in 1812 reviewing his life. Diane Keaton co-stars in this tribute to Tolstoy's War and Peace.
And you, Sonia, my God, you look more beautiful standing here than you do in person.
That's very funny stuff to see as you consider whether or not to attend Alice, based on our split reaction. Okay, my chance. I'll give you a reason why Woody Allen's films aren't as popular as, say, Steven Spielberg's. Allen doesn't want them to be. He's making movies for himself, as Spielberg has often said he has done. The difference, though, is in the two men. One is a 50-year-old New York intellectual who reads more than he watches movies or TV, and the other is about a 39-year-old Arizonan and Californian who is a product of thousands of hours in front of a TV set. Spielberg plays to the masses. His eyes come from mass entertainment. Allen plays to the East Side New York crowd. Compare it, if you will, in their action scenes. You all know what a Spielberg action sound and fury scene is like. look what passes for tumultuous action and say, Woody Allen's underrated Love and Death.
Wow. That looks completely different when you're in the middle of it than it does to the generals up on the hill.
Hey, get your red hots!
Of course, you don't see Get Your Red Hots in a Spielberg film, and of course there, Allen is making a tribute to the Russian filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein as well. We're talking gags here rather than gasps of excitement with the Spielberg films, and long live the difference. They both have their audiences. Woody Allen may achieve commercial success with Hannah and Her Sisters. I think it's going to be a big hit. But if it doesn't, I don't think it's going to kill him. And certainly, it won't kill his film, which will last forever, or as he might say, at least for a long time.
Once when I interviewed him, he said that he liked to keep his movies within a certain budget because it gave him the freedom to follow his whims. For example, he made a movie called Zelig, which was a pseudo-documentary. He made a movie called Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy, which I didn't like very much, which is kind of a whimsical little romance. If he gets an idea, he can go with it. He doesn't have to hit the home run every time, and therefore it makes him a very personal and a very free filmmaker to follow his will wherever he wants to go.
Well, then you want to credit some more people in the movie industry? Let's credit the people who produce his films, finance them. Orion Pictures, these are the old guys from United Artists, and these guys have stuck with him. They say, Woody, make your films. We really don't care if they make that much money. I'm sure they'd like him to make a little more. But basically, he's supported by a whole bunch of people. And I forgot one of his production people, Mel Bourne, who does his production design. Woody Allen has a great group around him. Together, they're making the best movies in America. But suddenly, in 1977, he grew up on film and created his Oscar-winning masterpiece, Annie Hall, a film combining tenderness with gags.
I didn't think it was that big, but it's a major spider. You got a broom or something with a, a snow
it's
shovel?
at your
maybe,
house. I think I left it there. I'm sorry.
Oh,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
Honey, there's a spider in your bathroom the size of a Buick.
A good gag, but isn't their relationship nice? And that's what we're talking about in the development of his career.
In 1977, Allen is able to deal with women confidently. Yeah. Here he is on his first date with Diane Keaton and Annie Hall. Listen to how he takes charge.
Hey, listen, give me a kiss.
Really?
Would digest our food better.
Okay.
Annie Hall shows us Woody Allen at the top of his game. It's a warm, human comedy, rich with laughs and ideas. Maybe that's why it was the first comedy in 38 years to win the Academy Award as Best Picture. It's a most inventive piece of filmmaking.
Okay, so fine. When it won the Oscar, I was happy because I think Annie Hall is a very good picture, too. I loved it.
Annie Hall, which I think is the decade's funniest film, Woody Allen gives us a couple of worlds for sure. The world of New Yorkers who he thinks think too much, and the world of Southern Californians who Woody Allen thinks don't think enough. At the center of the film is an investigation into the nature of love relationships. Must they always be so painful? In Annie Hall, Woody Allen says yes, but he also says the relationships are worth the pain. Some of that pain is evident the very funny but awkward first time Woody Allen meets Diane Keaton after a game of tennis.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
Hi. Oh, hi. Hi.
Well, bye. I don't know. I wasn't. I got this VW out there. What a jerk, yeah.
Well, it's very funny, but, you know, Roger, if you think about it, it's sort of sad that people can't talk to each other directly. Annie Hall is Woody Allen's best film of the decade, I think. Sweet, painful, always very funny. You know, I don't want to beat this into the ground, but here's another filmmaker who's created a whole world, a world in which Woody Allen is our guide. He's a little man, not unlike Charlie Chaplin's little man, who's being poked at by society's frauds and who pokes back at them even harder. A very special film.
I like what you said about Chaplin, because in a way that is what Allen is doing. He's making this world in which we know the rules, and the rules all kind of fit this character, his weaknesses, his insecurities, the way he relates to people. Yes. And so there are times in the Woody Allen picture where we know the joke just because of the situation, even if it's not explained to us in the dialogue. It's real nice. I'm not sure, though, that Annie Hall is one of the greatest pictures of the 1970s. I actually think that Allen might turn out to be one of the great directors of the 80s. I think he's still growing as a director.
Then we'll have some very good films.
I hope so. One good thing about Woody Allen is that he has developed this great all-purpose comic persona. This character, like Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton did, he's basically the skinny, insecure intellectual with the horn-rimmed glasses. He has a tendency to get goofy whenever he's around a pretty girl. Now, you say the Allen character is more secure around women in his later films, but I think the Allen character will probably always be a lot like he is in this scene from Annie Hall. Here he is, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a spider in his former girlfriend's bathroom, and here comes Woody to the rescue.
What, did you go to a rock concert?
Yeah. Hey, don't squish it, and after it's dead, flush it down the toilet, okay? And flush it a couple of times.
Darling, I've been killing spiders since I was 30, okay? It's a very big spider.
There he is, Woody Allen, the basic Woody Allen character, courageously able to face any situation and be defeated by it. He has a sort of whistling in the dark bravery there that we can easily identify with, and speaking for myself, when the chips are down and there's a big hairy spider in the bathroom, I'm no more crazy about going in there after it than Woody is. He gives us an all-purpose character there that we can laugh at and love at the same time.
This is one of Woody Allen's greatest scenes. In the beginning of Annie Hall, Woody Allen's character tells us about his childhood. In a very clever and tender moment, he takes us back to his second-grade classroom.
I must say, I always thought my schoolmates were idiots. Sometimes I wonder where my classmates are today.
I'm president of the Pincus Plumbing Company. I used to be a heroin addict. Now I'm a methadone addict. I'm into leather.
Those kids are priceless. It's a very, very creative scene. It's wise and a little bit sad, too, to see a bunch of kids and find out what's happened to them. If Woody Allen hadn't taken risks like he's been doing, he would never have made Annie Hall. That's an inventive piece of filmmaking. He should keep taking big risks.
I'm not so sure I'm crazy about his next two films, Interiors, which was deliberately a very serious drama, but then Manhattan, where you see once again, this creeping seriousness, this feeling that Woody Allen is beginning to take the issues that he raises quite seriously in terms of human relationships, what he stands for, what he thinks about women and so forth. That's okay. Maybe it's great in the work of another director, but dare I say there's such a thing as growing too much, growing beyond comedy? I mean, you look at the two great American comic directors, Keaton and Chaplin. Now, Keaton basically remained himself, and he tried to perfect that persona, perfect the kind of movie that he wanted to make, and make it better and better. Chaplin got creeping seriousness. It's almost a disease. In a movie like The Great Dictator, he ends it with a long speech about the state of affairs in the world and so forth that's just deadly dull.
I think that Manhattan is a fine film. It's an attempt, certainly by Allen, to perfect his art in his mind, and he's tackling it on a little harder edge. He doesn't want to make Annie Hall Part 2. He's also dealing with Diane Keaton, who's an actress who doesn't want to repeat herself. You know, these aren't shoddy filmmakers here. Your issue is right, Roger. I just think that you might be flagging Woody Allen a little too early.
Maybe what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to put up a defense of pure comedy. It's good enough in and of itself. A director like Allen doesn't have to do anything else or get more and more serious in order to justify his existence in my book.
Our next picture is completely different. It's Woody Allen's latest film. It's called Interiors. He directed it, but he doesn't star in it. And it's not a comedy. It's dead serious from start to finish. Interiors is about a rich, WASP American family in a great deal of pain. The mother, Geraldine Page, is cracking up after years of stifling her emotions and trying to be a perfect person. The father, E.G. Marshall, has had it with his wife. He wants some fun in his life. He wants a separation. And he announces that decision at the dinner table in front of his wife and two of their three daughters, played by Diane Keaton and Mary Beth Hurt. It's a good scene. Watch how much it resembles a banker holding a board meeting.
As I say, it's not an irrevocable situation. It's a separation. It's a trial separation.
That's pretty powerful stuff, and it sure is a long way from Allen's last picture, the comedy Annie Hall. But almost from start to finish, this picture Interiors is an unending portrait of pain, and after a while I wanted to scream, "Let me out of here." There's just so much unremitting pain. But then the one mentally healthy character pops into the picture. It's the father's new woman friend, played by Maureen Stapleton, and she brings a little bit of life to the family, a little bit of counterpoint to all the pain, and suddenly then Interiors turns out to be a fairly memorable movie. So as much as I suffered through the first half of Interiors, Roger, I don't think I'm ever going to forget any of its characters.
Well, I didn't suffer through the first half, and I find it a lot more than fairly memorable. I think it's one of the best American movies of the year. And I think it's a real example of chance-taking on the part of Woody Allen, who, after Annie Hall and his other successes, can make a comedy a year and make money with it. This time, he took a family, he realized them fully on the screen, he saw their pain, he stayed with it. You're disappointed that the picture's too painful. If you don't want pain, don't go to it, but don't ask Allen, I think, to fall back from the statement he's trying to make.
Yeah, but I don't like the construction of it in this way. We see a bunch of characters, maybe 7 or 8 of them in this family and all their attending relationships, and one after another they trot on and tell us how miserable they are. All I'm saying is stick in somebody a little bit less than miserable earlier on.
Well, one after another they are miserable, and I think one thing Allen does do is play fair with us. By the time the movie's over, we know why. We know something about these people.
I'll agree with you on one thing. I think that he has a fabulous ear for dialogue, and we could see it in that last scene when Geraldine Page says, "It's a very bad time for me. I think we all know that there are moments when we get so nervous that we can't even talk about ourselves except in third person. We're getting so built up, and she's a very bad time for me. I'm narrating my pain, and very good ear for dialogue.
We're together there. We've talked about how good Woody Allen's pictures are, and so then in that case, why don't more people go to see them? Woody Allen's movies usually make a little money, but they've never made a whole lot of money, like, for example, the movies of a Steven Spielberg or a George Lucas. Everyone thinks Annie Hall was a big hit, but actually it made less money than any other film that ever won the Academy Award for Best Picture. One reason for Woody's uneven box office record, I think, is that he keeps trying to do new things. He does not deliver the same film again and again. For example, he's a big admirer of the great Swedish director Ingmar Bergman, and so he made his own that's a hard one, Bergman-esque film named Interiors that was deep and depressing and the last thing that anyone expected from Woody Allen.
I feel I want to be by myself for a while. So consequently, I've decided to move out of the house.
A rift in a family, the same subject he returns to in Hannah and Her Sisters.
Another very talented filmmaker. There's no one quite like Woody Allen working in American films today. His comedies are about complex urban characters, whereas most comedies are about rubes. Most film comedies involve visual jokes, but Allen's humor grows out of battles within the minds of his characters, people who know themselves better than they know anyone else. And they don't even know themselves very well. Does that sound serious? Well, his new film, Manhattan, is very serious about some funny situations. The film begins as Allen tries out chapter 1 of a book he's trying to write about the city. The film is shot very effectively in black and white. Beautiful photography, even better on the big screen. The movie is about the self-centered troubles of Woody and his intellectual East Side New Yorker friends. One of the problems faced by Allen's character is that his ex-wife, played by Meryl Streep, is writing a book about their failed life together.
Hey, don't write this book. It's a humiliating experience.
It's an honest account of our breakup.
Well, it's not all jokes. Far from it, actually. The film has many serious points to make as Woody runs away from an uncomplicated but lovely relationship with a 17-year-old girl to a tortured on-again, off-again affair with a journalist played by Diane Keaton. Now, why do these people seek out all these troubles? Allen says he and his friends create complicated relationships in order to avoid confronting much more complex, depressing, and unsolvable problems. What's special about the movie is that this point is made two ways, with Woody Allen's incomparable humor and one-liners spoken by people with very real pain on their faces. Manhattan, I think, is easily one of the finest comedies, as well as one of the finest dramas of the year.
It's a really good movie. It's a pleasure to sit through.
It is, it is.
And one thing that I was observing as I watched it to myself was that Allen has created a comic character. The name of the character is Woody Allen. He's even a comic strip now. It's like Chaplin did that, Buster Keaton did that, W.C. Fields, but they made characters or personas who remain consistent over 20 or 30 years. And what Allen is doing is in every film, the persona changes and develops and gets a little bit deeper. It's fascinating to see what he'll do next. And Manhattan certainly comes right along in a string of very good movies.
It is very good, and he's developing both stylistically, using black and white, using music, and very well. He's a really accomplished filmmaker, one of the treasures in American cinema.
Another thing he gives us are a lot of shocks of recognition, lines of dialogue where you're laughing at the character, at the same time you're laughing at yourself. You're saying, hey, I say dumb things like that too.
There's one great line where somebody accuses him of playing God, and he says, well, I had to model myself after someone.
And I like him when he plays everyman as a schlep, but in his recent movies, Allen has begun playing characters that are closer to himself. His characters resemble the famous Woody Allen, the real Woody Allen, the insecure New York intellectual that we've read about. Look at this scene, for example, from Manhattan, which is filmed in black and white. Woody and his friends, including the teenager he's dating and Diane Keaton, who he's destined to fall in love with, are engaged in one of New York's favorite intellectual word games, the put-down.
What about Mozart? You guys don't want to leave out Mozart, I mean, while you're trashing people.
Compare the feeling in those scenes with the feeling we got while we were watching Annie Hall. Now, do you really call that growth in his relationship? Because I don't. His characters have become self-consciously intellectual, analytical, and not as funny. You can see Woody Allen there slipping away from his all-purpose comic persona that he developed in those other movies and into a character who might be a lot closer to life, but he's also a lot less funny. And I don't call that growth, Gene. I think he's in danger of losing what made him unique.
I think that this can be said, that Woody Allen, a lot of people wanted to make Annie Hall Part 2. Maybe you were one of those people. Well, he didn't make that. He's got a brighter mind than that. Maybe he couldn't be contained in just duplicating himself. He's done it once. He wants to move on to something else. Diane Keaton is an actress, too. She's a powerhouse. She doesn't want to just play Annie Hall again. I think that they joked about these same issues once. They want to put a little harder edge on it. And I laughed with the Van Gogh line.
No, I didn't want Annie Hall Part 2. I'm just concerned about Manhattan being, in addition to the things that they're taking as, that they were joking about before and they're being a little more serious now, I think they're being really more serious now, and I'm not sure that Manhattan or a Woody Allen picture is the right vehicle for that at all. Right, one of my favorite moments in a Woody Allen movie is from Manhattan, where Woody plays a successful writer who is in love with a teenage girl played by Mariel Hemingway, and in this scene, Woody thinks he wants to break up with her, and notice how delicately, this is Woody the writer now, how delicately the dialogue leads up to the moment where Hemingway sees right through all of his words.
This was supposed to be a temporary fling, you know that.
You keep stating it like it's to my advantage when it's you that wants to get out of it.
That's wonderful dialogue. And there's something else I want to talk about in connection with that scene. Obviously, as you were watching it, you saw the bands at the top and the bottom and then the wide picture. Woody Allen shot that movie in widescreen, and when it was released to video cassette, he insisted that it be released with the bands at the top and bottom to maintain his original aspect ratio. Usually in cassettes, they blow it all up to television screen size, and then they pan back and forth. Right. And that wasn't the movie he made. And that attention to technical detail and that pride in the technique of his film is really a hallmark of his
Let's give
work.
some more credit to some of the people that have worked on him. One of his producers, Robert Greenhut. One of his editors, Susan Morris. Gordon Willis has been one of his cinematographers. He's kept people along, a team of workers along, and I've forgotten a few names. Those are the ones that come to mind the most. And he has a team that is loyal to him because they make quality pictures, technically quality pictures as well as great films.
So that when you look at them, you know that they're going to look right.
Now we move on to a film where we both, I think, had big expectations. I used to be able to say, for example, I can't think of a Woody Allen film I don't like. Unfortunately, now I can. It is his latest one, Stardust Memories, in which Woody plays a put-upon comic filmmaker named Sandy Bates, who hates all of the problems that success has brought him, problems like the one he encounters when he meets his staff in his apartment. The movie is filmed in black and white.
Hey, did anybody read on the front page of the Times that matter is decaying? Am I the only one that saw that? The universe is gradually breaking down. There's not going to be anything left. I'm not talking about my stupid little films here. Eventually, there's not going to be any Beethoven or Shakespeare or...
Well, eventually, the Woody Allen character does go to that weekend film festival of his work, where he is overrun by fans, by groupies, by film buffs, and by the film critic who's hostess of the festival. And eventually, the pressure of all that attention triggers a silent childhood memory.
We love your work. My wife has seen all your films.
I especially like your early funny ones.
That scene has a charming, intentionally silent ending, but this aloof director is not the kind of nice guy that Woody Allen usually plays, and Stardust Memories is not the usual Woody Allen comedy. He seems to be indicting his fans in this picture and himself. He's indicting everyone in the celebrity game. But to do that, Allen has really stacked the deck against virtually everyone in the film. He plays an unpleasant character surrounded by a lot of other unpleasant characters, and Allen has his character deliver a lot of unpleasant jokes. This is all in an effort to tell us that Woody Allen hates to be asked for his autograph, hates the whole celebrity game. But he says that in the film's first 10 minutes, and then Stardust Memories has little more to say.
You know, Gene, I have to share your disappointment. Usually, you know, you can kind of count on Woody Allen at about this time of year after a summer of terrible movies. Comes along in October with something pretty good, but not this time. I was really disappointed. I think Stardust Memories is a one-note movie, as you suggested. It's very shrill. He has taken as his model a 1963 film by Federico Fellini called 8½, which is on exactly the same subject, and Allen also uses the same visual style in the black and white photography. Fellini's film is about this director who's surrounded by sycophants and would-be collaborators. He's overworked, he's harassed, and yet the Fellini film carries it through. The guy works out his problems. He comes to a terrible end, but nevertheless he's done so by facing what's the matter with him. It's not true in Stardust Memories. It just goes all along at one note. He's mad, and then he's still mad, and then he's still mad about the same thing, and then the movie is over.
There's another thing that bothers me about the film. I sort of hate to see Woody Allen, so creative a person, sort of chase his tail in this
Right.
movie. He seems to be focusing on the media's preoccupation with him, with people's preoccupation with him. He's giving in to the very problem that he wants to solve, and I think it's just sort of unfortunate. It seems to be a small subject for him to deal with, actually.
This movie is kind of self-defeating, actually. You know, in one of the clips that we just showed, he talked about he doesn't want to make funny movies anymore. He doesn't feel funny. I think in a way he feels ambiguous about humor, and he's so good at making funny movies, and I sound like one of the characters in the movie.
Right.
I liked your earlier movies better. But recently he's taken on two of the great directors. His movie Interiors was based in terms of visual style on Ingmar Bergman. Now comes this movie based on 8½, and even the first scenes are the same, very similar. I think if Woody Allen wants to find a great director to imitate, he doesn't have to look any further than Woody Allen.
No, I agree with you. And the other thing I want to say is I understand the problem that he's trying to deal with, at least I think I do. And it's contained in that little beautiful silent memory of his childhood. I guess what he's saying is, you know, when I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was create magic, and that's what I want to do in my movies, but unfortunately all this mess has come in on me. Well, I understand that, and it's beautifully expressed in that one little bit. But that's in the film's first 15 or 20 minutes. Then, unfortunately, he adds nothing, and that's the disappointment.
Unfortunately, we're both very disappointed.
Yep.
Another great hero of Woody's is Federico Fellini, the Italian who makes autobiographical films that are filled with lots of music and movement. Allen's own Stardust Memories is the story of a few days in the life of a harried movie director, and it was sort of a tribute to Fellini's famous movie, 8½.
It's Woody Allen's A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy, a light little picture set in the countryside of upstate New York in 1906. The film follows three couples on a weekend in the country. They all end up switching partners, sort of, while learning some lessons about life and love and roads not taken. Allen plays an investment advisor who is having sex problems with his wife. This unhappiness is brought into focus dramatically when an old girlfriend, Mia Farrow, comes to visit with her fiancé. When Allen finds out that she is coming, his mind is obsessed to what might have been between them. And he talks about that with her when they walk alone in the woods.
Do you remember these woods at all? Do you remember this area? Do you remember the bridge down there?
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course I remember. It was one of the most beautiful summer nights I'd ever seen.
I know, it was very romantic. I think about that night all the time.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And whenever I think about it, I want to kill you. Kill you or kill myself, but much more you.
What for?
Do you have any idea how much I lusted after you?
Well, why didn't you do something? I wanted you to.
You were this diplomat sort of raised by nuns. You know, I was shy. We were not in love. It was pure animal lust.
That's just what I was in the mood for.
I know. I missed an opportunity. I've regretted it ever since. You know, that's the saddest thing in life is a missed opportunity.
A cute moment, and the best part of this film for me was its advice to seize the moment that life presents. This is not Woody Allen's laugh-a-minute picture, though. It's more of a mood piece, a rumination on the forces that keep couples apart or draw them together for short periods of time. It's a slight movie, not substantial. Other characters include a pompous professor, a hot-to-trot doctor, and a willing nurse. But I found myself at a distance from these characters. The ending of the movie also was totally arbitrary. Nothing led up to it. A Midsummer Night's Sex comedy gave me some smiles, made me think about the idea of seizing the moment. But that's all, and frankly, I expect more than that from a movie from Woody Allen.
This was a very lightweight film. I was disappointed by it, too. I was sitting there waiting for people to engage, you know. In other words, what is the issue? What do they really care about? Why are they really here? Not that it should have been, you know, up at some hyper level of manic comedy or something, but just that everybody seems so laid back and they kind of drifted in and out of situations that never really amounted to anything.
I thought it also...
like a meditation on the subject.
Well, it also meandered about in terms of its style. I mean, he does have some of his throwaway gags in there. Some. Not too many. It's like he's hedging his bets. Then it's sort of serious and mystical about, you know, life and whether you should choose things that you feel about or regret them, or who you should be involved with, long-distance relationships or ones that are right in front of you. But then jokes. I just couldn't get I didn't feel it was very well directed in the sense of written, maybe, in the sense of picked and worked through.
You know, Woody Allen is one of the very few writer-director stars that we have, just one of a handful, and he's very talented. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, and it's interesting to watch his progress, but after Annie Hall and Manhattan, he's lost his way, I think. Stardust Memories and this film were really disappointments.
Okay.
Well...
For a
long time, ever since Annie Hall nearly 7 years ago, a lot of Woody Allen's fans have been wanting him to make one like he used to, a silly film without any big issues. His latest picture, Broadway Danny Rose, comes very close to that, and it's very funny, exceedingly well crafted, and it's a pleasure to see and talk about. In the film, Woody Allen plays an unsuccessful Broadway agent who handles only marginal acts, like a one-legged tap dancer and a stuttering ventriloquist. But most of the movie is about Woody's battles with his leading act, a beefy Italian singer trying to make a comeback, and the floozy this singer hangs around with. Mia Farrow plays that woman. She really gives Woody's singer a rough time breaking off their relationship, putting it back on, and they talk about that and other things in this very brief scene.
Boy, that guy Johnny must have really been crazy about you.
I don't know. Yeah, I like to flirt, you know. Sometimes people take it too seriously. Johnny's all right. He was really nice to me when my marriage fell apart.
Yes, and what did your husband do?
A little bookmaking, some loan sharking, extortion, like that.
So you're professional. What'd you do? You divorced him, or you got a separation, or what?
Some guy shot him in the eyes.
Really? He's blind?
Dead.
He's dead, of course, because the bullets go right through.
Hard to believe that's Mia Farrow in that scene. She's marvelous. If you don't spot her name in the opening credits, you're not going to know it's her until maybe at the very end of the picture. That's the only scene that Woody Allen would allow to be shown from Broadway Danny Rose. It's funny enough, old-fashioned Woody Allen funny enough, but I don't think it does justice to the warmth of the characters and to Allen's tribute to fringe show business types that runs all the way through this most enjoyable picture. This is my favorite Woody Allen film since Manhattan. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You know, you were right to say that for a long time people have been asking, let's have another Woody Allen picture.
Right.
Let's not have an experiment like Zelig or a whimsical little fantasy like a Midsummer Night's Sex comedy. Let's go back to Manhattan or Annie Hall. And
or way back, Bananas. I mean,
sure.
Who cares?
This kind of picture is as hard to make or harder than those experiments like Zelig. Now, Zelig was great for all the editors. They're working over these special effects. They're putting Woody Allen in pictures with Theodore Roosevelt and so forth. This movie, with its warmth, with its heart, with its big laughs,
yes,
is a harder kind of movie to make and a better achievement. And I really liked it.
I think so, too. And you said big laughs. There is one laugh in this film, and I won't tell the joke. There is one laugh that is explosively funny, and I thought, I just haven't laughed like that in a Woody Allen film till I think since he put his gun on that bionic nose in Sleeper, you know, or he was part of that marching chain gang going to the bathroom and take the money and run. I mean, these are big laughs. He should be very proud of himself for this one scene. You know which one with the...
I do.
Okay.
I do. And for the rest of the movie, too.
I know each word because of her.
The film is Woody Allen's The Purple Rose of Cairo, another inventive film from one of America's few remaining adventurous filmmakers. The something extra in this little Woody Allen comedy is an affectionate tribute to the magical power of movies themselves, as we follow a very complicated story in which Mia Farrow, a waitress in the 1930s, stuck in a bad marriage, begins seeing the same romantic adventure film over and over again at her neighborhood theater, until she falls in love with one of the characters in the movie, a dashing young explorer, and he responds in a classic scene by looking down off the screen right at Mia Farrow in the audience. He strikes up a conversation with her, and then he steps right off the screen and into her life. And that forces the film company to send the actor who played the explorer to visit the town to see if he can talk his movie character to go back up on the screen so the movie can get going. But when the actor runs into Mia Farrow at her little town, she thinks he's the character from the movie who she's friendly with.
Where's Tom?
Why?
Well, he's my character. I created him.
But didn't the man who wrote the movie do that?
Yes, technically. But I made him live. I fleshed him out.
You did a wonderful job. He's adorable.
Thank you very much. What's your name?
Cecilia.
Cecilia. Where is he?
Why?
Has he done anything wrong?
Wrong like what?
Has he stolen anything or attacked any females? You?
No, gosh, no. He's as sweet as can be.
Well, I played him sweet. I was well reviewed.
Well, he comes across.
Good. Look, I got to speak to him.
You're not upset with him?
Well, a little, yes, but I know if I spoke to him, we could straighten everything out.
Oh, I don't know.
Please, I have a right.
Well, it has to be secret. He doesn't want to have to go back into the movie.
And he doesn't want to go. And one of the plot points in this movie involves Mia Farrow trying to make a choice between that actor
and the character he plays. Now that's a great story. But at its core, I think the real love story in Purple Rose of Cairo is between Woody Allen and the movies themselves. I think this picture joins Francois Truffaut's Day for Night as one of the best movies about movies. This film is a tribute to the hypnotic power of movies, to the glories of even the most cornball movies, because the movie involved here is a cornball movie. Because even in a bad movie, those characters up on that golden screen are probably speaking to someone, somewhere, at some time. And I think it's a beautiful sentiment about
You know,
the
it fits right in with some of the other movies Woody Allen has made recently, including one I didn't like so much, Stardust Memories, which is about his problems with celebrity, or his character's problems of being famous and wanting to have your own private life. And then Zelig, which was about the anonymous man who was in all of the pictures with all of the famous people, but nobody could ever remember who that guy in the middle was. Now here's a guy that comes down from the screen. This is Woody Allen, who is not only one of our best filmmakers, but one of our brightest filmmakers, making films about the way that films work on us. And it's fascinating. The movie is fun. It works as a movie. I enjoyed it as a movie. And it also gave me much more to think about than I would ever expect to get from a movie comedy.
It's also a little bit of wish fulfillment. Wouldn't that be great if it did happen? You know,
wouldn't you love it if Nastasia Kinski came down off the screen and said, "Hi, Gene. Nice to see you. I'm going to go sit next to Roger over here."
She would never say that.
Woody Allen's new movie, The Purple Rose of Cairo, is about a lonely small-town waitress played by Mia Farrow. And every day she goes to the movie, sees the same movie over and over again until finally the hero of the movie, sitting up there on the screen, notices her in the audience and literally steps down off the movie screen and into her life. They go into each other's arms. It's love at first sight. This is really a movie romance. But then, in the scene we're about to see, the actor who plays that character comes to town. He doesn't know his character has escaped from the movie. She doesn't know this isn't the same guy.
I've seen you in lots of movies.
Where's Tom?
Oh, Broadway Bachelors, right? Right?
Yeah, well, you know.
Honeymoon in Haiti?
Done about 6.
You were scream.
Thank you.
The whole movie is filled with paradoxes like that, all based around this problem of what do you do when your fantasies do become reality? Should she fall in love with this guy from the movie? After all he knows is what he learned in the movie. Should she fall in love with the actor? After all, he's some bigwig from Hollywood. Or should she try to find the truth within herself? Well, that's a real difficult series of questions to answer, and Woody Allen has so much fun trying to answer them that I give The Purple Rose of Cairo 4 stars. It's funny. I'm Roger Ebert.
Woody Allen's The Purple Rose of Cairo is one of the best movies ever made about the movies. It's the fanciful story of a lonely young woman played by Mia Farrow who has a very special relationship with a character she sees on the movie screen in her small-town movie house. She goes to the movie over and over again, and she develops a fascination with this character. In fact, the character starts talking directly to her from the screen, and eventually, in a classic movie moment, he comes down off the screen and starts up a relationship with her. Meanwhile, the actor who has played him also comes to town. Mia Farrow sees these two characters now. She's totally confused as to which is which.
Yes, technically. But I made him live. I fleshed him out.
You did a wonderful job. He's adorable.
Thank you very much.
I love that dig. I created him. Screw the writer. They always do. The writer always gets it in the neck. Anyway, 3 different stories develop in this film. One involving the rest of the characters in that movie up on the screen who can't go on. That, I think, is hysterical. Second, involving a love affair between Mia Farrow and the fictional character. And third, the love affair between Mia Farrow and the guy we saw there, the actor who plays him. So you got 3 stories going on that are just great. It's a movie that speaks to, I think, people who have had movies speak to them.
I loved it. It dropped just off the bottom of my list. It would have been number 11 on my list of great films. And from Woody Allen, a consistently interesting and challenging director who makes one good film after another.
More recently, I still marvel at that scene in The Purple Rose of Cairo. Woody has a character literally come off a movie screen and talk to one of the people seated in the theater, back in the theater, Mia Farrow, a moviegoer that has a crush on the actor.
You know, I still can't get over the fact that 24 hours ago I was in an Egyptian tomb. I didn't know any of you wonderful people. And here I am now. I'm on the verge of a madcap Manhattan weekend. My God, you must really love this picture.
Me?
You've been here all day, and I've seen you here twice before.
You mean me?
Yes, you. This is the 5th time you're seeing this.
Henry, come here, quickly.
I gotta speak to you.
Oh, my God!
Listen, old sport, you're on the wrong side.
Tom!
to have a look around. Go on without me.
We can't continue with the story.
This is Cecilia. I'll go get the manager.
I love that line, I'll go get the manager. What's she going to tell him? Now, I've said this before. I consider that wonderful scene a tribute to all the lonely moviegoers of the world who have ever felt a special rapport with any actor or actress. Doesn't have to be a big star, just someone that you think communicates directly to you. Because it's that communion that is so real and tangible and so much a part of the movie-going experience. And Woody Allen, artist that he is, captures that extraordinary experience in that remarkable scene. It's one of the great scenes about the movies.
It's one of the great symbolic scenes about the way we feel when we sit there in the theater.
Now Woody Allen has made a fabulous film called Hannah and Her Sisters. I rank this right with Annie Hall and Manhattan, and someday I predict these will be known as his great New York trilogy. It's the story of three sisters, one a successful actress, played by Mia Farrow, another, an unsettled woman in love and work, played by Diane Wiest, and third, the young pretty one, played by Barbara Hershey, who is ending her relationship with an older man played by Max von Sydow and is tempted by Michael Caine, who is married to her sister, Mia Farrow. So you can see they are one complicated family.
I must apologize. I'm sorry. I'm so mixed up.
Well, how do you expect me to react to such a thing? Oh, please, I have to go. I have to get my teeth cleaned.
Now, Woody Allen's character in the film is a TV producer who is also an incredible hypochondriac, and all throughout the film he's worried he's going to die. He says he has a spot on his back. His assistant tells him it was only a spot on his shirt. Now, that joke should tell you that Hannah and Her Sisters is a classic Woody Allen funny picture, and his portrait of the sisters is as rich and as knowing as any of his so-called serious films. What's the whole film about? I think it's the most life-affirming film that Woody Allen has done since Annie Hall. Life with all of its problems is worth living. Things change. There are good times that follow bad times. This is the work of a very, very happy filmmaker and one who clearly is one of the greatest this country has produced in its time, that people really knew that.
And I agree with you. I just finished teaching a class at the University of Chicago on the films of Woody Allen, so I've just recently seen every one of his films. Now I see this one almost at the end of the semester, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think it's the best movie he's ever made, and it is the most affirming. And one of the things that he said a few years ago that has bothered me ever since, Woody Allen once said that there isn't a day of his life when he doesn't seriously think about suicide. Now, that's hard to believe, but in this film seems to be an answer to that obsession, in which he says, so we do only go around once. So what? At least we go around once. Let's enjoy life while we can.
There's a lot there involving the word maybe, too, in a speech that I can't duplicate because I can't talk as well as he writes, but it's involving maybe, maybe, maybe. He'll be talking about life, about God, about a meaning to life and all that. That's very, very beautiful. The casting of this film is so special, and I want to prove it to you. Michael Caine, who's a wonderful actor, but he's been in good films, he's been in bad films. I haven't seen Michael Caine used so well in a film that uses his intelligence so well and puts him in a New York film, and we buy it immediately. That's brilliant. Max von Sydow, again, used so very well. This is great casting.
Character after character after character. They're not just types. They have very specific things that they say, things that they do, the way they live, the places they live in, that show that they are people that Woody Allen has given a whole lot of thought to, in addition to the part that are on the screen. This is a movie where you can really touch out and feel life, not just comedy, but life.
We talk about how the big laughs in the last film, Down on Broadway, these are, if you can say it, there are laughs in this film. These are richer, richer laughs. I just love this picture.
Okay, 2 thumbs up?
How about 10 thumbs up?
I think so.
My choice for the best film of 1986, Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters, another remarkable achievement for one of America's few individualistic filmmakers who is always breaking new ground. And what I love about this film is that I think it's Allen's most optimistic, serious film to date, juggling the lives of more than a half-dozen New Yorkers, all searching for someone to love, something to believe in amid the quick pace of that incredible city. Here, Woody Allen, playing a hypochondriac TV producer, flirts with Diane Wiest, playing a failed actress, now in the catering business.
I don't know if you remember me, but we had the worst night of my life together.
I remember you.
Yes, you do recall,
I
right?
recall you.
I was walking past, and I just saw you in here, and I thought I'd come in, and we could replay
We didn't hit it off.
I'm just putting it mildly. We did everything but exchange gunshots.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
We almost exchanged gunshots. People saying what's on their mind. That's the plaintive cry and source of many laughs in this one of Allen's very, very finest films, a movie filled with a raft of wonderful performances, This is one of those time capsule movies, I think, Roger, that shows you big city life in affluent America, 1986.
You know, thinking about it again, and I agree with you, and it's certainly on my list too. It's a great film. One of the things I like about it is the way that people try to find substitutes for the solidity and stability of a family. Now, there is a family in this movie that's kind of disintegrating, and then there are other people who in other ways have these interconnected relationships, and they meet at Thanksgiving, they meet on holidays where they try to pretend that they're a family, but then they split up into all of their neuroses and all of their problems, and then they try to come back together again for another holiday. It takes place over the course of a year, and this search for that kind of security is at the heart of the film and makes it really interesting.
And it's at the heart of our times right now.
Yes,
That's what I mean by that time capsule thing. I just think, you know, boy, lock this one up and show this people in 100 years, they'll know what life was like today, in big cities at least.
Okay.
And he seems to have struck his finest balance, I think, in his latest film, Hannah and Her Sisters, featuring Mia Farrow as a together sister who is kept busy trying to keep her quarreling parents together.
It's a good thing we had a talented daughter.
I can only hope that she was mine. With you as her mother, her father could be anybody in Actors' Equity.
Again, great gags there, but that serious tone at the end about alcoholism. Of course, the parents there, the late Lloyd Nolan and Mia Farrow's real mother, Maureen O'Sullivan. That scene is more sweet and lifelike than just flat-out funny, and that's the course of Woody Allen's career. Some people complain, why can't he make the old funny ones? Well, my new answer is, he already has made those, and you can rent them on cassette, thankfully. He's now making funny and serious ones, too, and they're worth seeing as well. And somehow, those films last a little longer in your mind after you leave the theater. What we have here, I think, is nothing less than a world-class filmmaker. Not just an American filmmaker, a world-class filmmaker at the top of his form.
And frankly, you know, this is strange speculation, but if he continues to just try to repeat himself with slapstick, gag-ridden movies over and over and over again, the same people would probably be complaining, why doesn't he ever try anything more serious, you know? He writes these great articles for the New Yorker, and then he just gives us that old stuff. So the fact is that Woody is growing, and it's fun each time to see in a movie what he's discovered next, what he's thinking of now, what's on his mind lately.
And yet, his source material is New York City and the neuroses in that city. So what's amazing to me is he still is stretching while shooting basically in the same area.
Of course, you could say that there are enough neuroses in New York City to keep him engaged in new movies for a long time.
Radio Days, I think, is another triumph for Woody Allen, reaffirming his place as a national treasure in terms of both the entertainment value of his films and his personal growth as a filmmaker. As American movies have been getting more and more juvenile, Woody Allen's films have been getting more mature, and they're still as funny as ever. Radio Days is his personal tribute to growing up in a world, believe it or not, kids, before television. When working-class families, like the one Allen, as off-screen narrator, says he grew up in, got their kicks imagining the lifestyles of the rich and famous through listening to their antics on the radio.
In those days, the radio was constantly playing at our house.
And have a wonderful day.
The film flip-flops constantly between the swanky high society world of the radio stars and the more mundane but also very heated and funny world of Allen's bickering middle-class home life.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you think the Atlantic is a greater ocean than the Pacific?
And there was my Uncle Abe. He kept bringing home fish from his friends who worked at Sheepshead Bay. Next, there was Grandpa and Grandma. Every single morning, he spent a half hour packing her into her corset.
A woman in her 70s, and her bosom is still growing.
That's vintage Woody Allen humor. Radio Days is full of Woody Allen stock players, too, including Mia Farrow as a cigarette girl who wants to be a star, but really comes much closer to death when she witnesses a mob club owner being killed. Now here, the hitman's mother talks her son out of killing Mia Farrow.
Because she's not too fast up here. She wouldn't make no trouble.
She is terrific. That scene goes on and on. It's one of the funniest scenes in the movie, due to Woody Allen's writing, of course, but also his staff's ability to find character players like that mother, played by Gina DeAngelis. I don't know where she came from. Obviously New York City, not necessarily Manhattan, though, I think. She is absolutely terrific. Radio Days is full of laughs, but there's also a bittersweet side, as Allen remembers a time before television helped rob us of our imaginations. I think he's really making a statement here about the golden days of radio and the tarnished days, I'm afraid, of television. Radio Days is an extraordinarily entertaining and well-made film.
As I sat there in the theater, I was so grateful for the richness of this film. There is so much there. I mean, You talked about how many of the funny, we saw some of the funny scenes in the movie. There are scenes in this movie much funnier.
Yes.
Even so,
the one with the rabbi had me laughing for a minute, and then later in the movie I kept remembering it.
Over and over we laugh at scenes like that, and yet there are moments in this movie, too, that are so evocative. Now, I remember from that period the story of that little girl who was caught down in the well, and for 3 days and nights they tried to dig her out, and then she was found dead, you know. Yes. That made a big impression on me when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and as I saw this movie again, I remembered, and I think Woody Allen remembers, exactly how the whole nation got involved in that through the imagination of picturing that scene on the radio. And over in this film, he shows how the radio went into our minds and really became a part of our lives. And so it's a complete movie. It's not just a comedy. Right. It's got a lot of serious stuff in it, too. Right. It's beautifully photographed. The movie it reminds me of the most is Amicord by Fellini. Right. That wonderful, sentimental evocation of another time.
Did you think he was knocking the television age too, and saying the kids are robbed a little bit cheated by not having radio? I think so, in a way, that because in radio it all takes place inside your imagination. Yeah. It's not out there on the screen. Think how good we'd be on the radio. Wouldn't have to look at us for one thing.
Well, that would help. There are great scenes like that with his family, and there are also similarly funny scenes involving the high society people on the radio. If you are a Woody Allen fan, don't miss this picture. If you are a radio fan, don't miss this picture. If you like to laugh, don't miss Radio Days. It's really one of the best films of the year, and it's a short year, I know, but this is terrific.
Woody Allen can't get much for that in the way of an Oscar, right? Writer and director.
Well, he will, oh yes, he will get writer, he could get writer and director for this, and you know, this is going to help his chances, I think, for the nomination of Hannah and Her Sisters, which is coming up. I mean, he's assured of writer and director nominations. Those nominations
it's got to a point where it's almost sacrilegious to say you don't like Woody Allen. I'm not a Woody Allen.
I didn't like Zelig a few years ago.
That's the only one I really did like. Guess I just don't agree with Siskel.
We're like...
What about Ebert? Can we get Ebert on here instead?
You need a crane, you could, yeah.
Okay.
6 people make up one person at different times in their life, I think. We love, we don't love. We love the wrong person loves us, and so forth. It's almost as if he's working out a little intellectual essay here on unhappy love.
Yeah, a very, maybe an essay form or maybe a play form would have been better than this. Again, Farrow and Stritch, the individual performances can't be faulted.
Do you recommend the movie or not?
Yes, because it's better than most of the things out, but at that level, and not as good as Hannah and Her Sisters on the same kind of subject.
Okay.
2 thumbs up for Woody Allen's serious film September, but Roger liked it more than I did. It seemed a little too uptight for me.
Woody Allen's Another Woman is another one of the serious dramas he's made lately about the weather inside the souls of some of his very tormented characters. In this case, the movie stars Gena Rowlands as a 50-year-old philosophy professor who has her life very well organized. She's got everything in a compartment, and what she can't allow in is passion. For example, the love that a man played by Gene Hackman has long held for her.
He's a snob. He's a wonderful man. Maybe I was wrong about you. Maybe you're two of a kind.
One day, the Gena Rowlands character hires a room in an office building downtown in order to work on a book that she's writing, and through the ventilation grate, she can hear every word of the consultation sessions going on next door between a psychiatrist and his patient, played by Mia Farrow. As she hears the cries of passion and disappointment and fear and sorrow coming through that grate, she begins to realize how much she's lost in her own life by keeping everything so tightly controlled and so completely packaged. The movie is about kind of a journey that she takes through her life, finding out who loves her, who doesn't, who's intimidated by her, who she held at arm's length, and how many opportunities she missed. It's a very thoughtful movie with a great performance by Gena Rowlands. I give it 4 stars, and I'm Roger Ebert. The third part of New York Stories was directed by Woody Allen. Now, people have been saying for a couple of years that they wish Allen would abandon his serious movies and get back to comedy, which he does best, allegedly. Maybe they'll like his short film here, which is named Oedipus Rex and which is intended as a comedy. But I think it's among Allen's weakest work. It stars Allen as a 50-year-old lawyer whose life is still controlled by his mother, who even visits him at the office.
Mother? Say hello to Aunt Seal.
What are you doing here?
We just saw Cats.
Cats, Mr. Cats?
Cats, the show. Remember you gave me 2 tickets?
Cats, of course.
So I thought I'd take Aunt Seal to see your office. Isn't it beautiful? She doesn't hear a thing.
John, we're a little behind schedule.
Yes, sir. I'm all tied up.
This is Bates, the one with the mistress.
Now, there are some laughs there at that moment, but laughs that are extracted, not inspired. And there was a wonderfully inventive scene elsewhere in the movie where the mother is picked as a volunteer in a magic act, and then something truly mysterious happens to her. That moment is, or could have been, a great springboard for a movie that never materializes. Now, I don't want to give away any surprises, but I'll say that the movie goes completely wrong from the moment that his mother reappears after her magical vanishing act. If what happens in this movie happened in real life in New York City, the story wouldn't be how the Sun dealt with it, it'd be how 8 million New Yorkers dealt with it. And because Alan doesn't go with that, his ending seems so artificially limited and so constrained and contrived and manipulated that it's more of a distraction than an entertainment. That's too bad.
I think this is more of a sketch than it is a full-blown work. Now, of course, we get into the whole notion here of whether or not they can handle this short form, and whether, if given a full-length feature, if he had done it on this subject, whether it would have worked. But I agree with you, it's a little bit less than you expect from him. I think that the sight gag, which we won't give away, is amusing, and I enjoyed it. But it is certainly turned off very quickly. I think you're accurate on that. And, you know, it almost is justification for his serious work, because I think when he tried to do this little exercise here, I don't think his heart was really in it.
I think Woody Allen can make comedy anytime he wants to, and I think he's a great serious director, too. But I think in this particular case, the problem is the special effect that's involved. And again, we won't give it away. But, I mean, New York wouldn't react that way. If that was going on, the entire city would come to a halt, and everybody would be in on the act. Well, it wouldn't just still be the neurosis of this little nerd.
A lot of people do get into the act, if you recall. Some of the other people join and they chime in, they root for the...
No, that's contrived one-liners by 3 or 4 extras.
I'm telling you, it's a sketch. I would have liked more.
Named Crimes and Misdemeanors, and this is one of the very best movies Woody Allen has ever made, a movie that moves back and forth between drama and comedy to paint a cynical and despairing and sometimes very funny portrait of the modern world. The movie cuts back and forth between 2 stories. The main story stars Martin Landau as a respected eye doctor who is happily married and treasures his reputation in the community. That's why he's so angry when his unstable mistress, played by Angelica Houston, writes a letter to his wife.
I want what you told me you wanted. To be together. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do, Jude. I'll jump out the window, I swear.
The movie's other storyline stars Woody Allen himself as a serious documentary filmmaker who is in love with a young producer played by Mia Farrow. But she is also being courted by a millionaire Hollywood TV producer, a man Allen has absolutely no respect for.
Listen, I've never been seduced by a guy who wears loafers and no socks, much less one who says nuclear.
It's almost a device from classic stagecraft that you have the same story told on 2 levels. On the tragic level with Martin Landau, and then on the comic level by Woody Allen. One very significant, one less significant, and reflecting on each other. Crimes and Misdemeanors asks a lot of questions, including whether a doctor can be responsible for a murder and not be eaten up by guilt, by his own guilty conscience. And also, whether an intelligent young woman will choose to fall in love with a serious filmmaker, or will she choose instead a complete jerk who might be able to help her in her career? Allen's answers are so consistently pessimistic that they end up being funny in a dark sort of way. And this is the first movie I can remember where virtue is punished and evil doing is rewarded. A rare movie that considers serious questions and yet plays like a thriller.
Well, the whole issue is that this is the essence of the 80s we're seeing. I mean, where can you do something for my career? Can I get away with it? Is the name of the game. And the picture is so unremitting, and we're waiting for it to flip the other way, particularly with the Martin Landau story, that I sat there with sort of my jaw open. I mean, I just, suppose my mouth was open and my jaw was lower. But, you know, I mean, it's just terrific, because he doesn't cave into anything. I mean, he just lays it out. And he's probably right. That's what you sit. You sit there and you just you know, you're shocked, and then you nod, and then you feel kind of sad.
You're right, it's a movie of the 80s. It took till 1989 to make it.
That's
so much
okay.
of our movies and our television and our fiction tends to support these pious platitudes about how you can't live with a guilty conscience. You can't do something that you wouldn't like to see yourself doing. You wouldn't like to think of yourself as a murderer or a thief. And the fact is, you open up the paper every day, and it's filled with people who were very happy to see themselves as murderers and thieves and white-collar embezzlers, just as long as they didn't get caught.
The other thing is that there's a whole mood in Hollywood pictures to teach us the way to behave through showing us right-thinking people. I mean, that's the standard way. You know, Gandhi, that kind of attitude. And here's a picture that comes along and shows us possibly the way to behave by showing us the way people do behave, and it isn't good. You know, and it's much more, to me, it's a much more interesting approach.
Woody Allen was, it was suggested to Woody Allen that this movie was pessimistic or cynical. And his answer was, he said, I would rather describe it as realistic.
Absolutely.
And in a way, that may be the right word. Coming up next, and it's a
lot of fun, but good, shocking in a way.
Good movie. This is not an updated version of Alice in Wonderland. It's an original but equally whimsical satire about modern life among the very, very, very rich in New York City. Mia Farrow stars as a wealthy wife who's growing dissatisfied with her life and thinks she may want to have an affair with a man she hardly knows. Complaining of back pain, she goes to see an acupuncturist in Chinatown, but wise old Dr. Yang knows the problem isn't in her back, but in her heart.
What is this? Where am I going?
Joe Mantegna plays the man she has a crush on, but after 16 years of faithful marriage, the idea of having an affair with another man terrifies her. Alice explores some familiar Woody Allen territory. On the one hand, we get the troubled modern woman seeking some kind of meaning in her life. And on the other hand, there's a sort of mystical or magical thread running through the movie as Dr. Yang's secret herbal potions make her free to ask basic questions about the meaning of her life and all of her relationships. The movie takes a very detailed and satirical view of the rich and empty lives of its wealthy New Yorkers, and yet it also has an irreverent side, a kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude toward Alice's effort to redeem herself. The ideas and ambitions here are more limited than they were in Allen's previous movie, The Wonderful Crimes and Misdemeanors, but it's a smart, funny movie, and I liked it.
I liked the setup of it. I was all set for to really get involved with Alice in this very real issue that which is her life and what she's going to do with the men in her life. You know how people are always arguing back and forth with Woody Allen's career? I wish he'd be, when he makes a serious picture, I wish he'd be, you know, more funny. This time I wanted him to be more serious. I thought that Alice's situation is a common one, an important one, and when it got light with Dr. Yang, maybe once, but repeatedly, that's when my back went up and I thought, this isn't being taken seriously enough.
I think he's doing an interesting thing here with the story, Gene. You know, in all of his movies recently, he's had some kind of wise authority figure, a rabbi, a priest, a philosopher, somebody who is really dealing with big questions, a psychiatrist typically. Now, in this movie, what he does, I think, with Dr. Yang is just short-circuit all that. You go to Dr. Yang, it gives you some tea, and immediately you're in touch with how you feel about your sister, how you feel about your mother, how you feel about your husband, with these fantasies. And there are fantasy or magical scenes in the movie, or maybe they're just all in her mind, which is probably where they were, that allows her to get probably like 30 years of psychoanalysis in 60 minutes of screen. I think that's what it's about, really, in a way.
What's strangled? The maniac, the one who killed Eisler's son and choked Jensen to death with the piano wire.
Woody Allen stars as his traditional schnooky character in Shadows and Fog, a most disappointing film from one of our great filmmakers who seems to have really lost his way this time, making a film that is more about art direction than any kind of story. Shadows and Fog is a moody black and white tribute to German expressionist filmmaking like M and Nosferatu, with Allen playing a nerd in a European town in the 20s asked to join a manhunt for a strangler that is terrorizing the citizens.
Don't you know no one can walk the streets at night?
Shadows and Fog features an all-star cast, including Mia Farrow as a circus sword swallower passing through town, and John Malkovich as her boyfriend, a clown. She's just turned her first trick as an amateur prostitute. He's furious.
You don't think I'm worth $700?
There isn't a whore in the world worth $700, especially not an amateur whore like you.
That's not funny, and a lot of big talent is wasted in this story. As I sat and watched Shadows and Fog, I kept thinking, okay, it looks good, and I guess the films that he's referring to, I could see where he took a shot from Todd Browning's Freaks about circus performers, but what else is there? A routine story of a nervous little man intimidated by thugs. A bunch of famous actors appear in cameo roles. Madonna is a trapeze artist, Lily Tomlin, Jodie Foster, Kathy Bates is prostitutes. So you sit there and say, oh, look, there's Kathy Bates. Shadows and Fog honors the look and sound of classic movies, but the reason that they're classic is they had compelling stories. Shadows and Fog is not a major disappointment.
It is a major disappointment. It's 86 minutes long, and it could be 20 minutes shorter with no problem at all. There's nothing here.
Nothing.
You're right to say that it's all art direction. He got the look right, and I'm afraid that at no point did I understand what he was trying to do or why he was trying to do it.
It's very sad. I don't want to be accused of kicking a man while he's down, but watching Woody Allen's Shadows and Fog early in the year was one of the most aggravating experiences I had in 1992. His was a labored attempt at creating a German expressionist film, and unlike his Love and Death, his send-up of Russian novels, there simply weren't any laughs in Shadows and Fog. He pretty much played it straight in the story of a paranoid nebbish who was under suspicion of murder. I think the sole pleasure for Woody Allen on this project had to be the set design. He could fancy himself as director F.W. Murnau back in the 30s making a picture, but meanwhile, he stuck us with a pointlessly dreary stories. Shadows and Fog was dreadful.
It was. Unfortunately, it was. There's just no way around it. And even looking at the pictures on the screen, you just wonder why not go out and rent M or Nosferatu or something and enjoy the real thing. Yeah.
Obviously, that's Woody Allen in Husbands and Wives, the most talked about movie of the year, and that was before anyone even saw it. And the challenge for a film critic is to review this movie as a movie, and I liked Husbands and Wives more for its sharp, edgy portraits of troubled marriages than for much of its comedy, save for one fabulous comic performance by Australian actress Judy Davis. She's a great talent, and she shows it here. Here's how the film begins, with the married couple Sidney Pollack and Judy Davis revealing that they're breaking up to another married couple of friends of theirs, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow.
Let's eat. What do you mean, come on, let's eat? Come on, I can't eat.
Once her marriage is busted apart, Judy Davis starts seeing another man, Liam Neeson, as a co-worker in Mia Farrow's publishing office.
I can't go so fast.
I'm sorry.
It's just, metabolically, it's not my rhythm.
Of course, the most explosive element in the movie is that Woody Allen's character, a college English professor, begins having an affair with one of his students, played by Juliette Lewis from Cape Fear.
Excuse me, I want to ask you something, Professor. Do you seduce all your students?
Stop
Listen,
it!
I don't know what this is about.
And I'm going to repeat that I liked Husbands and Wives, just so that doesn't get lost in anything else we're going to talk about. Judy Davis has a riotous blind date in the movie, and Sidney Pollack, the real-life director of films like Tootsie and Out of Africa, turns in a strong performance as an abusive jerk of a guy, and Mia Farrow looks incomparably sad throughout this entire film. Husbands and Wives does more than state the obvious, that marriage is a fragile institution. It comes dangerously close to, frankly, arguing against it.
I had the same experience you did, I think, seeing this movie, and that was to be surprised by how serious it was.
Yes.
And within the terms of these characters and their story, how honest it was. It really is a thoughtful, penetrating movie. And when I went to see it, I wondered if I was going to be able to really relate to it at all after having read all of these headlines for the last several weeks. And I found for the first 10 minutes of the film, it was really kind of eerie, because it was almost like seeing a deposition with these people talking about themselves in real life. But then the characters took over, the story took over, and the movie worked for me as a movie despite everything else that's going on.
Well, I don't know whether it should be even despite. As you were saying that, I was thinking, what's so wrong with that?
Yeah.
Because actually, you're sitting there and you're saying, all right, Mia Farrow is obviously, and Woody Allen, we know that chronology has been in all the papers.
Yeah.
They were having their problems as this is going on in the dialogue and what they're speaking, and it seems some of it is improvised, some seems improvised. And so you study the face, and she can't totally hide that face.
That's right.
And watching that character, that's somebody in extremis, that's someone in pain, and it's a good performance, and it may be real for all we know.
Woody Allen's style in this movie is to make a documentary.
Yes.
It's made in the style of a documentary, and I think there are times when it really is a documentary. At least it feels that way. And like one of his earlier films, Another Woman, It's about the ways that New York apartment dwellers can accidentally learn strange things about their neighbors. When a little information is combined with a lurid imagination, the result can be unpredictable and even dangerous. In the movie, Alan and Diane Keaton co-star as a married couple who meet the next-door neighbors one day and are surprised shortly afterwards when the man's wife dies of a heart attack.
Such a shock, wasn't it? I mean, it was just so sudden. I mean, she seemed so, God, well, healthy. I mean,
She had a heart condition.
She did? She never mentioned it.
That's Jerry Adler, very warm and then very mysterious as the neighbor who becomes a suspect. Keaton turns into a Nancy Drew, sneaking into his apartment and following him around in an attempt to gather more evidence.
What'd you do? You got his key?
Yeah.
You're kidding. What are you talking about? You can't do what? Because you followed him to the movie house? You said there was nothing happening.
No, wait a minute. No, he was with this young model type, and they were talking about money.
Well, so what?
So that's the motive.
What? Hey, listen to me. Come here.
What are you talking
Come
about?
Here. Wait a minute.
Come here.
Look,
What do you
look,
mean,
I've been
Larry?
thinking about you.
What do
I
you
think
mean?
you got to see. You got to go back to your shrink. I want you to see Dr. Ballard again.
Larry, I went for 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Just
But you know how General Motors will recall defective cars? You got to go in for a tune-up.
Manhattan Murder Mystery has the structure and even a lot of the plot twists of a conventional whodunit, but Allen has his own angle on this material. The movie is funny, I think, because the clues almost seem to force themselves upon these amateur detectives, with Woody's character insisting all the way that there has to be a rational explanation and that in any event they have no business sticking their noses in where they might get chopped off. The movie is part thriller, part comedy, and part just a funny slice of Manhattan life. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, more in the beginning than as the mystery played out. I think they're funny together, and there are echoes of Annie Hall and their relationship here. And I didn't really care about how the mystery turned out. I was on the cusp on this picture. I'm giving it a thumbs up. Because, you know, I may be in some way rooting for Woody Allen to get his life back together on screen in some way. There's no way I think you can watch his pictures now, at least now, and not have the other world stuff come into it. And I thought he was funnier here than I had seen him in recent pictures, and I liked it on that basis.
And I think it would be a mistake to overlook Jerry Adler's performance.
Very good.
Because he is so convincing as that man that it's very hard for us to believe, and I don't want to give the movie away, which I maybe just did, but it's very hard for us to believe anything bad about him. Let's put it that way.
Boy, and you dumped on me for the crying game when it was 18 weeks in release. This movie hasn't even opened yet, and you're a bad boy today, Mr. Ebert.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Tracy Ullman plays a dizzy and desperate actress, and John Cusack plays the earnest young writer of a new play in Woody Allen's new comedy, Bullets Over Broadway. It's a funny coincidence that the backstage radio comedy, Radioland Murders, would open the same week as Woody Allen's backstage theatrical comedy, but all it proves is that Allen has returned to his classic comic form in his funniest movie in years. This movie does know that you have to make the characters into people before you can make them funny. In the film, which is set around 1929, Cusack is the serious young writer of a badly confused new play, and Diane Wiest is the legendary grande dame of the theater who has her eye on the playwright and on her own Broadway comeback.
I'm used to playing more overtly heroic women. Less tentative, more alluring, certainly not frigid.
The play has been financed by a rich gangster who insists that his girlfriend, played here by Jennifer Tilly, have a big part. Tilly's bodyguard is played by Chaz Palminteri, and the movie's inspired twist is that the bodyguard instinctively knows more about the theater than anyone else involved in the production.
I think the whole thing stinks.
I think you're a degenerate zombie. Shut up and read.
Shut up.
You shut up and read.
Meanwhile, Cusack's life falls apart as the bodyguard takes control of the play, and Cusack's girlfriend suspects he's having an affair with the older actress.
Why didn't you tell me?
Because there's nothing to tell, Ellen.
Bullets Over Broadway is very funny, but it's also very sly. You can read it as a comedy, but you can also sense that in a subtle way, Woody Allen is making some comments here about his own role as an artist. Is he the Cusack character who is earnest and committed but finally lacking in talent? Or the gangster who is willing to follow the demands of art to their logical conclusion? You can have fun figuring that one out, and fun all the way through Bullets Over Broadway, which has a lot of big laughs and a couple of great big laughs.
Well, it has this one wonderful character. That's why I like the picture, the Chaz Palminteri character. The other kinds of characters I think we've seen before in terms of backstage farce and that kind of thing. But this character of this thug who happens to be street smart, and as we learn, playwright smart. That's special, and he keeps building. I mean, he's a wonderful writer, and the way he builds this character, so that at first we think he's going to be a minor player in this piece, and then he keeps adding at steady increments, so that this guy takes, as you said, takes over the play.
Until he finally arrives at a moment of decision.
I know.
That really brings the house down. It really does.
That's what's so special about this.
And you know, in terms of Alan's whole career, he's gotten into this subject matter before, where he talks about whether or not certain kinds of antisocial behavior are justified. For example, the murder in Crimes and Misdemeanors, or what's happened in his own life in the last couple of years when he said at a press conference, the heart has its reasons. And here he indicates that there are certain reasons that for some people will justify almost anything. Now that can lead you to a long debate. We don't have time for that now. But you're right, the character is terrific and the movie is funny.
The character is an original.
Our next movie is Mighty Aphrodite, one of the best and most ingenious of Woody Allen's comedies, starring Alan and Helena Bonham Carter as a sports writer and a gallery owner who adopt a baby boy. Although Alan in the movie is originally against the idea of adoption, he soon finds little Max the apple of his eye. But it's not long before the bright kid is asking difficult questions.
Who's the boss between you and Mommy?
What is the question?
Who's the boss between you and Mommy?
Who's the boss? You have to ask that? You don't know who the boss is between me and Mommy?
No.
I'm the boss, okay? Mommy is only the decision maker. You know, there's a difference between, you know, Mommy says what we do, and I have control of the channel changer.
Alan grows obsessed with finding out more about the biological parents of his adopted son and secretly tracks down the boy's mother, played by Mira Sorvino, as a hooker who horrifies Woody by visiting him at his newspaper office. Alan's efforts to reform her have led to unforeseen consequences.
Yeah, well, he knows it was your idea that I get out of the business, so he said he's going to kill you, too.
He said he was going to kill me?
Yeah, he said because it was your idea, he's going to cut up my face and put a bullet between your eyes.
Really? Did he specify the caliber?
Against all the odds, they actually become friendly, and Woody tries to fix her up with a boxer he knows. He's played by Michael Rappaport.
So, I'll go, and I just want to bring you guys together, you know? You know, you could maybe stick around, maybe, you know, we could go out or something. No. Yeah. I'm completely superfluous. Oh, you don't feel good?
Mighty Aphrodite is audacious in the way it uses a hip Greek chorus in the movie to comment on the action, underlining the classical themes beneath what seems at first to be a modern Manhattan story. Woody Allen himself is very funny in the film, increasingly desperate as he tries to maintain all of his secrets and still keep everyone happy. And Mira Sorvino is wonderful as the hooker, whose total sincerity and relative stupidity work together to create some great comic situations. Mighty Aphrodite is one of Allen's best films, and coming right after Bullets Over Broadway, it shows he's really on a roll.
Not according to me. I didn't care for the picture. Mira Sorvino, I thought, is a delight, and I enjoyed it. It's a classic dumb blonde role. She's very good in it, and it's a lot of fun. The Greek chorus that you praised, to me, stopped the movie cold, which is right at the start of the picture, and every time it pops in. To me, this was nothing more than bad Mel Brooks, History of the World kind of Mel Brooks, although that wasn't as bad as this. It just didn't seem to fit.
Not at all, I think you see, here's the thing that I like about Woody Allen is that he's audacious enough to throw in something like that, and
if it works, it would have been fine.
Because he's using, in this modern New York story, he's using the themes of classical antiquity involving parenthood and childhood and so forth.
That's why he has the Greek chorus.
And they are very funny. Olympia Dukakis, David Ogden Stiers, the way they deliver those lines.
Roger, this is, if it had been any other filmmaker, I think you would have laughed it off the screen, not laughed at it.
Not a chance of it, but even apart from that, you're going to throw out the whole movie because you didn't like the Greek chorus?
I'm going to throw it out for a number of reasons. I didn't like the Greek chorus, which keeps popping up regularly throughout the picture. I didn't think that Woody Allen or his relationship with Helena Bonham Carter, his wife in the picture, was anything fresh or interesting at all. And again, the only person that I really cared about and really liked was the Mira Sorvino character.
Well, anyway. Woody Allen plays a writer based in Paris whose girlfriend has dumped him, so he returns for consolation to his best friends, which, typical of a Woody Allen movie, are his former wife, Goldie Hawn, and her current husband, Alan Alda. And those are some of the many relationships in Everyone Says I Love You, a movie for which the word magical was invented. Now, this may not be Woody Allen's most important or maybe not his most thought-provoking movie, but I think it's his best movie because it finds the perfect tone for a modern romantic musical comedy and carries it triumphantly through a whole mixture of stories about wonderfully conceived characters. Here are two of them. Alan Alda's daughter, played by Drew Barrymore, who is about to be proposed to by her boyfriend, Edward Norton.
Where the whipped cream and the cherry usually are.
I ate it.
You ate the ring?
What ring?
Honey, I bought you a diamond ring.
Alan takes his own daughter on a summer vacation to Venice and falls in love at first sight with a young woman played by Julia Roberts. So he tries to run into her accidentally.
You okay?
Yes, I'm fine. You gotta keep in shape. I jog every day.
And then Woody's daughter, played by Natasha Lyonne, announces she has fallen in love too.
What do you mean you're in love? What? With what? What does he do?
Gondolier.
Now, as charming as those scenes are, they don't even begin to suggest the best thing about Everyone Says I Love You, which is that this movie is a musical. Most of the actors sing the songs in their own voices. Some of them are not great singers, but they're all great performers, and they sell the lyrics in a way that gives the songs a genuine enchantment. And then there's a dance sequence on the banks of the River Seine in Paris that I would not dream of spoiling for you by even one little word, but it is magic. Woody Allen took a big chance making a modern musical, and he has succeeded brilliantly. Everyone Says I Love You is absolutely wonderful.
Well, I'm surprised about a couple of things you say. One, that calling this his best movie. I mean, I just don't think this is anywhere in the category of his two landmark films.
You're thinking of Crimes and Misdemeanors and Annie Hall, probably.
I'm thinking of Annie Hall and Manhattan, actually.
Okay.
Too. The second thing is, I'm not recommending the picture.
Really?
Yes, because, and I want to get into it. First of all, I'm getting a little tired of the Woody Allen nebbish character. I would like to see him grow up, because I haven't, any of the jokes that he says, and he has the punchlines, they're not funny anymore. I didn't laugh at a single one.
Oh, Gene.
That's number one. Now, let's get to the music. I felt that some of these, that he was like doing campy versions. I know they're tributes. When he has the people, when he has the hospital staff dance,
why not?
No. It's great that he would have them, but it feels phony. It feels like, oh, he's doing that in service of something else.
Gene, first of all, I love the Woody Allen persona, but the person who's growing is not the character, it's the director. The director who continues movie after movie and year after year to try new things and to take chances, and some of them work and some of them don't work, and to make a musical, and to say, I'm going to take these great old songs, which he's been using in a lot of his movies, and to let the people really sing them and sell them, and it's so charming. I'm really sorry that you didn't have a better time.
I wish I did too.
My next title is the number 8 film on my list, Woody Allen's lovable and charming new musical, Everyone Says I Love You. One of the love stories involves Alan on vacation in Venice, who encounters Julia Roberts during a morning jogging session and tries awkwardly to make small talk with the goddess.
You gotta keep in shape. I jog every day. You?
The cast also includes Alan Alda, Edward Norton, Drew Barrymore, and many others, including Goldie Hawn, who plays Alan's former wife and stars with him in a pas de deux on the banks of the River Seine that is one of the most magical sequences I've seen in the movies. They dance in a way that defies gravity, and not as a stunt, but almost as if their reverie has temporarily put the laws of physics on hold. Woody Allen has made a lot of good films, but Everyone Says I Love You is, I think, his most nearly perfect.
Well, that's the part I really can't handle. I mean, Annie Hall and Manhattan, I think, are far superior. And I wanted to like this picture very much. I love musicals, and certainly Woody Allen has the intelligence to make a great one. I don't think this is it. I felt that he was straining to force musical numbers every time I saw them pop up, even though Alan Alda does sing well, and so does Goldie Hawn.
If it's done the hospital scene, you didn't like that?
No.
I'm astonished, Gene.
No. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the way it's done.
There's nothing wrong with it, but there's a lot right with it.
I didn't think it was that special. Woody Allen playing a writer with neuroses that seem autobiographical in his latest film, Deconstructing Harry, in which the writer-director clearly tries to explain the recent set of personal problems he's had in his life, and I give him a lot of credit for tackling the subject, but I didn't laugh that much in this picture, and I felt a lot of the material seemed needlessly recycled. Here is Allen playing a writer named Harry Block dealing badly with his wife, a psychotherapist played by Kirstie Alley. He's been cheating on her with one of her patients, and she's enraged.
You know, you turned off me first.
Oh, please. No, I gave birth. You know, when women give birth, there's a time period where their hormones just sort of go crazy.
Yes.
But they settle.
Okay, so if you're telling me that you're settling, I accept that.
The movie star-studded cast includes Elizabeth Shue as Harry's much younger girlfriend and Billy Crystal as a pal who has eyes for her.
Well, listen, why don't you come to my house in East Hampton for a weekend? It would be great fun.
Well, let's not get hysterical.
No,
I'd love to. It'd be fun.
Oh, it's beautiful out there.
It's sand in the crotch. It's tips.
No. Get this guy to leave his room. You know.
Oh, I know.
He's never had a tan.
I know. You know, I've always wanted to learn how to snorkel. I've never done it.
Great. Snorkel. Where he lives, there are sharks.
The women in the film are mostly harpies. One exception is a sympathetic hooker played by Hazel Goodman.
Should we get to it?
You don't want to talk a little while first?
Talk? Why?
Really? I mean, most guys don't like to just jump right into bed without a little talking. They think it's a little too businesslike.
One element of Deconstructing Harry that offended me personally, Alan's hideous parade of negative Jewish stereotypes, mostly women again. Naturally, the film company released the only positive moment when psychotherapist Demi Moore sticks up for her faith against an attack by her husband, Stanley Tucci.
No, I'm sick of your smug cynicism. There's value in tradition. Now, I never thought it would mean anything, but now that I'm a mother, it does. I see not only meaning in Judaism, but true beauty.
Helen, you're a scientist.
Einstein was a scientist, and he was a Jew, and he was religious.
Alan's onslaught of negative Jewish stereotypes was nauseating to me, so much so I asked to see this film a second time the same day so I could check whether my initial reaction may have blinded me to the film's strengths. But even after a second viewing, I can't recommend Deconstructing Harry, the story of a man who, as he says at least 4 times at the end of this picture, does better with his art than with his life. I like that concept for sure, but not enough of the execution here by Woody Allen.
Well, Gene, I liked the movie very much. I thought it was smart. I thought it was funny. I thought it was courageous of him to try to bear some of his feelings.
That I liked.
About the women in his life and the way he cheats and the way he isn't honest. And by he, I'm talking about Harry because we don't know how autobiographical it is. As for the Jewish stereotypes, I don't know. You didn't mention the black stereotype, the hooker.
There was a parade.
That these movies are filled with stereotypes.
No, I mentioned the
His
parade.
material is stereotypical. It always is. And I think that's legitimate for a comic, especially when he's talking about himself.
I guess it was the parade there that bothered me.
Well, I think you're exaggerating how much of the total part of the movie is really given over to that. You've left out a lot of stuff. For example, the hilarious Robin Williams character is always out of focus. That was very funny.
That is the one contribution artistically that he makes, and it is as good as the character who comes off the screen in his earlier picture. This is smart, and I would have loved to see. I mean, that element ranks with Zelig in the kind of thing that's what could have been done artfully instead of, again, recycling old stuff.
Kenneth Branagh stars in Woody Allen's new movie Celebrity, playing a celebrity hound journalist who talks and walks uncannily like Woody Allen himself. In that scene from the film, he's interviewing a movie star played by Melanie Griffith and is less interested in the interview than what he can get out of her personally and professionally. He's a self-promoting hustler who in this scene wants a meeting with a hot young heartthrob played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He tries to peddle him a screenplay and gets drawn into the party boy's lifestyle.
Why don't you slip into bed and we'll be there in 1 minute, all right? Be there in 1 minute.
Excuse me, you got a second? Because this is an unfamiliar scenario.
Listen, I know Gina from before, all right? You will not be sorry, trust me.
You mean all of us?
When the journalist isn't with the girl he loves the girl he's with. But he can't believe his ears when he chats up a supermodel played by Charlize Theron.
Polymorphously perverse meaning,
Meaning every part of my body gives me sexual pleasure.
It's always the case with a Woody Allen movie that there are some big laughs and satirical jabs that are right on the money. He never bores you. But this time he didn't much surprise me either. The movie plays like a series of sketches. Some of them work, some don't, and since nobody can play Woody Allen better than Woody Allen can, maybe it would have been a better idea for Kenneth Branagh to reinvent the journalist instead of simply doing a Woody imitation. It's a close miss, but thumbs down for me on Celebrity.
I'm right with you, Roger. When I heard the idea that I'd be seeing a picture, Woody Allen, called Celebrity, I thought it would be much more biting, much funnier. Also, he may be coming late to this subject, commenting on, our celebrity obsession. Maybe 10 years ago would have been more topical. Right now, I think we all know the story.
There's an irony in that Woody Allen's last film was a documentary about his tour of Europe with his Dixieland band, and that movie had more insights into celebrity and Woody Allen than this one does.
One of the passions of Woody Allen is the clarinet. He regularly plays in a New Orleans-style jazz band in New York City, and we follow him on a tour through Europe in Wild Man Blues, a documentary of the tour by the Oscar-winning documentarian Barbara Kopple. But much to my surprise, the film doesn't feature music as much as tabloid TV-style eavesdropping on Woody Allen and, as he calls her, his notorious consort, Soon-Yi Previn, his former girlfriend's adopted daughter.
Can I just see your omelet?
You don't like yours?
No. Can I switch? It's, no.
Can I have a cover? Oh.
It's very hard. You know, it's like eating a rock. I mean, it's very heavy.
Well, why did you give it to me? See, I think your mistake was ordering a Spanish omelet just because you're in Spain.
Oh. I thought that was appropriate.
No, it's like vulcanized or something.
Much time is spent showing how socially awkward Woody Allen is. Some of the material seems staged, in that Allen seems to be exaggerating his attitudes for would-be comic effect.
This is where we sleep. The ceilings are just a little higher to be perfect.
We also get to see Allen use his mother and father as comic foils. Here's a phone conversation with Mom back in New York.
Is Daddy there? He's in the lobby.
Huh?
He was in the lobby yesterday, and a couple came in and went to their apartment on the 27th floor, and he went with them.
Oh, my God.
Well, did they let him in, or did they...
And at the end of the film, Allen baits his parents in scenes that seem particularly cruel, especially when he ridicules the Jewish education they tried to give him. I find his self-hate to be disgusting. Does he think it's funny? As for the film as a whole, I found it worked only as a travel guide to some of the best hotel rooms in Europe. But I learned precious little about the music that fuels Allen's passion. That's the minimum I would have expected from the film. Thumbs down from me.
Gene, I'm relieved it wasn't about music. This is not a contra-documentary. This is about Woody Allen and Soon-Yi Previn. And what I found fascinating was how Barbara Kopple's camera is so observant that you can find out things about their relationship, about why it works, that you wouldn't have expected.
All right,
this
tell me
woman
one way it works that you wouldn't have expected.
She is his mother, his producer, his guide, his public relations consultant, his advisor. She's good for him. She tells him what to do in interesting ways. It turns out that their relationship is not at all what you would have expected.
Well, what would you have expected?
Well, I would have expected, you know, the whole image is the dirty old guy and the young girl, and it turns out that actually they turn out to be a couple that does make sense. They are a plausible couple in this film. And then you see all of the other stuff which involves his own neurotic and protective and fearful personality.
Do you think that it was staged in the way I suggested it was staged? In other words, that he's
I think he was aware, as everybody is in every documentary ever made, that a camera is on them, yes.
Not everyone. Yes. I think that he punched it up for the sake of the camera. And I don't think everybody
performed. Well, first of all, I don't really think he did, because his energy level here is much lower than it is in his movies or in his, even in his personal presence when you interview him. It's much lower. He's not really punching it up. He, I think, is always on. He's always making comments like that. You've been with him privately. You know that that's the way he talks. He's not doing it for the camera.
Oh, I think he clearly is doing it for the camera.
Don't you think this movie is fascinating for anyone who's interested in Woody Allen? Wasn't it fascinating for you as much as you just liked it?
I just said I wasn't. No, because
okay, so
I wanted
if he's
more.
Cruel to his parents, should the camera turn away from that, or isn't that information?
No, that is information.
But that's not reason to dislike the movie.
And that wasn't the reason I disliked the movie. The reason I said I disliked the movie is because I would have expected it to be about the
music.
No,
you
to be about his passion.
You wanted to know more about music. You don't go to this movie because it's a documentary on New Orleans jazz.
You go to it because Woody Allen loves this music, and I would have thought the minimum I would have gotten out is exactly why he loves it, and I don't have a clue. And I happen to like the music myself.
The movie fails for you because it didn't do what you think it should have done, but it works for me because it does what it did.
Very good.
Why Emmett Ray? Because he was interesting. Sort of pathetic in a way. He was flamboyant, obnoxious, and he was funny.
That's the inimitable voice of Woody Allen describing Emmett Ray, the jazz virtuoso who's the subject of Sweet and Lowdown. Allen's droll mockumentary celebrates a forgotten and fictional 1930s guitarist who was famous for his beautiful tunes and his lousy private life. Ray, played with snappy gusto by Sean Penn, had great chops, but when it came to personal relationships, he was out of tune. The woman who loved Ray best was a simple laundress, played by Samantha Morton. She was mute, but ardent. So, of course, he treated her like an old flipper.
Yeah, hold on. Hold it. Time out. I'm getting a little razzled. Your pace.
Ray was much more intrigued with the highfalutin sophistication of elegant dames like Blanche. That's Uma Thurman all dolled up. Gosh. Of course, even a genius can suffer professional setbacks. Sweet and Lowdown is one of the prolific filmmaker's nice stories, like Bullets Over Broadway, rather than one of his nasties like Deconstructing Harry. Here, Allen has a sweet sense of the swing era and an even sweeter sense of who's cool on the screen today. Of course, all of Allen's movies practically vibrate with autobiographical fantasy, and this one's no different. Is Emmett Ray, the misunderstood genius, poor baby, a stand-in for you-know-who? Well, you said it, he didn't.
Well, I think that all of Woody's pictures are autobiographical in one way or another, but this one is so sweet in the way that it shows this man's loss. He has the great love of his life. He doesn't know it. He's so stupid. He lets her go. Then he won't forgive himself. And Sean Penn is so good.
Always a great actor, always underappreciated in a way.
Sean Penn is the best. He is able to step right into a totally different character here and make this guy, unlike anybody else he's ever played, convinces us he can play the guitar. I mean, that's him playing that guitar. You can see his fingers moving. And at the same time, how obsessed he is with his music and how stupid he is about everything else.
And with the music of Django Reinhardt, who was the real genius, the real gypsy genius who did this. Also, I am amazed at how fast Woody Allen found Samantha Morton. This girl, since she came out of Under the Skin, has just been hot, and he does great with her. Please explain to me why the best woman in this guy's life is mute. I don't know about that.
Well, maybe it's what he thinks he's looking for.
What he thinks he's looking for. Somebody who doesn't talk back and is just ready to shine his shoes.
And she's not really mute anyway, though. She's not really mute.
Well, of course, she's eloquent inside because she's this lovely, beaming girl.
Okay. Woody Allen plays an ex-con who wants to be a bank robber in small-time Crooks, and Tracy Ullman is the sardonic wife who has heard his big plans 1,000 times before. They're sort of like the honeymooners. Allen's character has a group of low-life friends that he enlists in his plan to rent a shop near a bank and drill a tunnel underneath to the bank's safe. But these guys are not skilled construction workers.
It's ever going to work to drill, I'll tell you now, okay? It's going to make a lot of noise.
No. Hey, what do you think this is? This is why you get the big dough. We wrap this blanket around it, it's fine.
You got to know how to work a drill like that.
The shop upstairs is a front for the operation where Tracy Ullman sells her cookies. The cookies turn out to be amazingly popular. Elaine May plays Ullman's cousin, who's enlisted to help deal with the enormous crowds.
I just want to say that we're expanding and there are men in the back right now tunneling.
The couple get rich off the cookies, not the bank heist. And Ullman attracts the predatory attention of Hugh Grant as an art dealer who thinks he can romance her and get his hands on her money.
Nice nose.
Yeah, no, the bouquet is very special.
No, I mean, you've got a nice nose.
Me?
Yeah.
Small Time Crooks is funny and goofy and a straight comedy without any of the autobiographical or analytical or experimental or quizzical or Freudian touches that Woody Allen has used in a lot of his recent movies. There's no other purpose this time except to make us laugh. And I did laugh, not only because of the funny situations, but also because there's real wit in the carefully written dialogue as Tracy Ullman uses her sharp tongue, Hugh Grant schmoozes her, and Woody plays not his usual intellectual, but a defiant and insecure working-class guy who feels left behind by his social climbing wife. He was happier when they were poor.
Could it be a new era of Woody Allen? I don't know. I have to admit, I don't really get Woody Allen. I get a little tired of the neurotic outbursts, and there were plenty in this movie. His strengths lie in directing, and Tracy Ullman, one of my favorite comedic actresses, and Elaine May, hands down, probably the most entertaining person in this movie. But the story was my big concern. It lagged. Not only did I really like the small-mindedness of these guys, but when they went into, I know the story was supposed to be them progressing to rags to riches, but it just fell on its face and it lost its humble beginning.
It has to go somewhere. It can't just end I mean, if this had been anybody else making this movie, it would have ended with the joke that they got rich selling the cookies. Here he takes a U-turn. He carries it to the next level.
But it
he
didn't
brings
go to
in
the
Hugh
next
Grant,
level
and Hugh
for
Grant
me.
is very funny. Very funny is this guy who is actually pandering to these rich people who don't have any taste. But he doesn't have any taste either because he'll do anything they tell him to do. And also, as for Woody Allen, I guess you either like him or you don't.
Right,
I like him.
and I go
I
with
have
the
liked him from the beginning of his career. I like his comic persona. I like the insecurity. I like the way he talks.
And it drives me up the wall, and Woody, I'm sure you're a wonderful man. It's innate. But the fact is, he does do really smart comedy. The comedy is subtle, the dialogue was subtle, and it was very funny. But I give it a somewhat reluctant thumbs down.
Okay, well, mine's like here.
We work together.
I can't stand
Don't pay attention to him. He's a sleazy little megalomaniac who's frightened of women.
Hypnotized Woody Allen and Helen Hunt reveal the extent of their mutual loathing in The Curse of the Jade Scorpion, and that's David Ogden Stiers as the hypnotist. It's 1940, and Allen is C.W. Briggs, an old-school gumshoe-type insurance investigator who clashes daily with his firm's new efficiency expert, Betty Ann Fitzgerald, played by Hunt. She doesn't care for his methods, his personality, his looks, his very DNA, but that doesn't stop him from asking her out to see if they can smooth things over.
You wouldn't know which end is up.
Well, in your case, it would be hard to tell.
While investigating a break-in at a client's mansion, C.W. encounters spoiled rich girl Laura Kensington, played by Charlize Theron.
They say I always get my man.
Me too.
Now, for Woody Allen, that's one of the perks of writing, directing, and starring in your own vehicles. You can keep creating these scenarios where dolls who are a foot taller and 30 years younger find you attractive. After another break-in, it's C.W. himself who becomes the prime suspect.
There's a word for people who think everyone is conspiring against them.
That's right, perceptive.
Curse of the Jade Scorpion is a light but worthy companion piece to such Allen works as Small-Time Crooks and Bullets Over Broadway. In other words, it's not Annie Hall or Manhattan, but it's an amusing trifle. And even a relatively slight effort from Woody Allen is galaxies above most modern comedies. Helen Hunt and Dan Aykroyd are particularly good at capturing the clip staccato delivery reminiscent of comedies from the 30s and 40s, and Allen still has a great way of circling his lines with hesitations and repetition before punching home the joke.
You know, I agree with everything you said about the movie, except I wouldn't give it thumbs up because it just didn't quite make it there for me. It seemed like this one lacked the exquisite timing that Allen usually has, and that some of the lines, especially his own lines, didn't really have the right punchline or the punch word. They didn't really sell. They didn't really deliver. And the movie, as a result, never really took off for me.
Oh, I thought he had just enough to make. I mean, it's not one of my favorite movies of the year.
Isn't, no.
But I mean, there was some great stuff with Helen Hunt, and she keeps saying each time he leaves the room, she's like, "Well, don't fall down and crack your head open and have a terrible injury. You know, that would be a horrible thing if that happened."
I love her. The long list of insults. You know, you worm. You. She goes on and on with
mostly about his size and everything. And I also like the fact that he acknowledges that he's older now. I mean, the characters say that to him. You're old and you're balding and this and that. So even though he's a lot older than these people, they're
acknowledging I give you all of that, and I like the hypnosis gimmick and what it leads to. But the movie, you know, compared to, for example, Small Time Crooks, which is wonderful, it just doesn't really get over the top.
I thought it just got over the top.
Okay, we're
pretty close on this one.
Okay.
Okay, next is Match Point. Now, this film, for me at least, raises two big questions. Does Woody Allen have anything left to say, and does Scarlett Johansson have the acting chops to handle all the great roles she's been getting? The answer to the first question is a resounding yes. In Match Point, Allen leaves behind his beloved Manhattan for upper-crust London and the British countryside. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers plays Chris, and Matthew Goode gives a sterling performance in a Hugh Grant-type role as Tom, who invites Chris for a country weekend of cocktails and sly banter.
Anyway, you better watch out for this one. He's made a living out of hustling.
And that's Johansson playing the sultry Nola, a struggling actress. Now, I want you to watch this scene where Chris confronts Nola after a one-time tryst. To me, Johansson seems a bit stiff and self-aware for the moment.
What happened, Chris. I mean, the moment was very out of control for many reasons. I was upset, I was drinking, and the storm was overpowering. I'm not rationalizing. Passions are passions, but we're both very involved with other people.
Now, contrast that with Emily Mortimer's effortless presence as Chloe, Tom's sister and Chris's wife-to-be.
Is it me? Have I been horribly pushy and obnoxious on the subject? Look, I just want a baby. I want to have our baby.
Maybe it's just a contrast of two actresses and two acting styles, but Johansson has yet to knock me out. Allen has crafted one of his strongest films in years. It's a dark love triangle that turns into a thriller about a married man who is consumed with lust and recklessly enters into an affair and then has to deal with some very tragic consequences. So, big thumbs up.
Thumbs way up for me. It's one of Woody Allen's 5 best films.
Wow.
I'll name the other 4 if you want me to. But on the other hand, it's not really a Woody Allen film, and people who think they don't like Woody Allen films, and there are people like that, should realize this is basically, above all, a psychological thriller, and a very, very good one about a man whose guilt really got to me. About Scarlett Johansson, she's been very good. She was good in Girl with Pearl Earring, for example. She is an American, gauche, unsophisticated, over in London, trying to earn her way, in over her head, insecure, and that's what you're picking up on.
I'm picking up on that. I realize who her character is. I think she's out of her depth with these other actors. I don't think she comes across. There are certain scenes where she's breaking down and she's desperate and she really has to hit some high dramatic notes, and I don't think she hits those notes.
I think she does, where she says, you know, it's time for you to step up to the plate here.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a certain kind of monotone quality to her voice, and I just think she's very self-aware of herself as an actress.
What I don't want anyone to lose track of is the fact that this is a very, very, very entertaining movie.
I'm happy to report that after macking on Deborah Messing, Téa Leoni, Julia Roberts, Elizabeth Berkley, and Charlize Theron in previous movies, Woody Allen does not romance Scarlett Johansson in Scoop. He plays her wisecracking surrogate father, a magician named the Great Spendini. Johansson plays Sandra Pransky, a bosomy American journalism student visiting London.
That Peter Lyman is the tarot card serial killer. Now, just write this down. If so, that he's murdered a dozen women, short-haired brunette prostitutes. And if it turns out to be Lyman, this will be the biggest story to hit London since Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. Is that capitalized?
That's Deadwood star Ian McShane as Joe Stromble, a recently deceased journalist who has the scoop of the century. He returns from the dead to tell Sandra that dashing aristocrat Hugh Jackman's Peter Lyman could be the infamous tarot card killer.
Yes, we're the Spencers of Palm Beach.
Oh, not the same Spencers who are in the shipping line.
No. My father's into silver and gold and drilling for wells.
Now, Sandra actually falls in love with Peter, though she's only supposed to be pretending to fall in love with him, even as the extremely convenient clues begin to mount. I think Woody Allen is one of the great dialogue writers of the last half-century. Why not create an ingenue-free story with a 70-something leading man playing his age, dealing with being at that point in his life? I think that would be a real scoop. So in this case, I give this a respectful thumbs down, a mild thumbs down.
Yeah, it's, you know, with a guy whose career is as storied as his, it breaks your heart to ever have an unkind thing to say.
I agree.
It's just not, it's not funny. You know, it's like you want there's one half chuckle in the movie where he talks about inviting her out to dinner and he says, how do you feel about McNuggets? And that was the only thing that kind of made me smile, but there's not a single laugh in the movie, and you're just sitting there going like, man, from the credits begin, and it's the standard Woody Allen credits, you're like, here we go.
Right.
It's just kind of downhill from there, but
you know, I love Woody Allen, and you're right though. I mean, like, he's doing jokes like, you know, well, I was born Jewish, but then I converted to narcissism. You know, and it just sounds like something he would have said in a 1972 comedy.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the whole, like, he seems to be doing, I wouldn't go so far as to say a retread, but he really is like kind of reaching back. Like, I watched this movie and I kept thinking of Alice, and I kept thinking of his segment from New York Stories. Remember that? Where he puts his mom in the box and then she disappears and stuff.
Yeah.
He loves the Asian theater. He loves the Chinese box gag. But it is kind of strange, and you just, like, after Match Point, which, even though I felt that was kind of something of a retread from a smaller segment of Crimes and Misdemeanors, it felt like, wow, this dude's kind of going in a different direction now. And then you heard he was doing the next flick in Britain as well, and you were like, this will be interesting. And then it's this, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, not really necessary.
Not necessary. One of the probably best left forgotten of the Allen canon.
I would think so.
But he's still a god.
Woody Allen is now past 70. That means he's about 30 years past the glory days of Annie Hall and a pre-Cloverfield Manhattan. Some say he's washed up. His latest film is Cassandra's Dream, and it's a decidedly minor work, but there's still some snap in Woody's writing and still some sharpness to his black humor. Ewan McGregor plays Ian, who falls head over heels for an aspiring actress.
Thank you again for coming to my aid on the road. I dreamt about you the next 2 nights.
Being rescued is one of my wicked dreams.
It's not very wicked, being rescued.
It's what you did to me after.
Colin Farrell plays Ian's brother Terry. They're in constant pursuit of that one big score, and opportunity knocks when their wealthy Uncle Howard says he'll set them up for the rest of their lives. All they have to do is kill the man who has the goods that can put Howard in jail for life.
I'm not as cool as you are, Ian. I am not cool, Terry. I'm fighting very hard not to panic. But this is a way out for me, too. Now, you don't like playing on the small stake tables, well, neither do I. This is a big shot for me, Terry. To make a big step up in life. It's murder, right? I know, but still, don't forget it.
Cassandra's dream teeters between film noir and black comedy. It's a morality tale in which just about everyone gets their just desserts. The ending is a bit over the top and sudden, as if Alan decided he had enough of these amoral incompetents and he was ready to move on to his next project. But I'm recommending the film for the smart script and the performances from Farrell, McGregor, and most notably the great Tom Wilkinson as Uncle Howard. Mild recommendation from me, sir.
I agree with you on Wilkinson, but I'll tell you, man, nothing in this film for me happens suddenly. Okay, I think this is a really plotting picture. Yeah, and I think in a film like Match Point, which this is very much in the scheme of
a better film, I think.
Much better. And I think in that case, you really felt like Woody Allen was working out some new territory for himself. You know, working this kind of morality tale, but in a different setting, London instead of the usual New York. And to me, this thing really just felt like it was enervated in the writing, and I don't think visually there's nothing going on in this picture.
Visually, it's certainly nothing special.
Yeah.
I would disagree with you, Michael, on the plotting part, because there's a lot of that sharp, quick dialogue I think Woody sometimes likes to do, you know, going back to screwball 40s stuff where everybody's kind of spinning their lines. I mean, you and McGregor and Colin Farrell, they don't even really try that hard with the British accent.
No.
It's more just about having fun with the words, but I didn't feel it plotted along. Even the scenes with, you know, the one guy falls in love with an actress and the other guy's got a relationship going on. There's some cocktail party banter. I thought all that was kind of interesting.
Okay, falling in love with the neurotic, distrustworthy actress. Didn't I just see that in Match Point? You know, I mean, that's 2 films ago.
I think you've seen that in Woody Allen's life for about a half century.
And in fact, your own life. Yeah,
but thank you very much, sir.
But here's the other thing. I think, as you say, the rhythm of the picture, the writing, line to line, is that sort of old, snappy attempt. But
I like that.
I got to say, he hasn't modulated at all for this new dramatic kind of impulse.
I think he has, and I think the actors have fun with it. And like, as I say, you know, Tom Wilkinson in particular, you know, the Uncle Howard character. So once again, I don't think we're that far apart, but just enough to disagree. I'm saying it's just good enough to check out.
I think Wilkinson has the best part because it's that great kind of weasel that Woody Allen clearly secretly sides with. I think. Anyway.
Penelope Cruz deserves a Best Supporting Actress nomination for her fiery, crazy, sexy work in Vicky, Cristina, Barcelona. It opens next week. This is, yes, an early review. This is the latest male fantasy confection from Woody Allen and is a comfortable, consistently entertaining summer diversion. Allen's favorite 21st century muse is Scarlett Johansson, and I think she's getting more comfortable with each role. She plays the restless and romantically adventurous Cristina. The lovely and gifted Rebecca Hall plays her best friend Vicky. She's engaged to a nice but boring rich guy. The girls are spending the summer in Barcelona.
Right. You're asking us to fly to Oviedo and back?
No, we'll spend the weekend. I mean, I'll show you around the city and we'll eat well, we'll drink good wine, we'll make love.
Yeah, who exactly is going to make love?
Hopefully the 3 of us.
And of course, that's Javier Bardem. He plays Juan Antonio, a painter with huge appetites for just about everything. Wine, women, you name it. Penelope Cruz plays his tempestuous ex, Maria Elena.
You went through my luggage?
Of course I went through your luggage. First night I was in the house, I didn't trust you. I didn't believe you were who you said you were. I wanted to know who was really sharing the bed of my ex-husband.
Juan Antonio, Cristina, and Maria Elena settle into a lusty and loving 3-way relationship, talk about a male fantasy, while Vicky questions her commitment to the comfortable but boring Doug.
I have a handsome, lovely fiancé who I make love with and also holds a very real place in my heart. And to be perfectly frank, Juan Antonio, if I were the type of person that played around, I don't think it's in the cards for us. So,
Vicky, Cristina, Barcelona is a trifle. It's a beautiful postcard from Barcelona with gorgeous actors doing a great job of spinning Allen's signature dialogue. It's one of Woody's sexiest movies, but I don't know if that's saying much. He's always been better at depicting courtship and breakups than the actual lust and lasting love. Nothing terribly surprising or amazing happens here. The pleasure is just in the journey and in watching terrific work, particularly from Hall and from Penelope Cruz. So see it.
Yeah, the best performer in this film is not on the poster. It is Rebecca Hall. She is very good.
Yeah.
And that part is, I think, closest to Alan's heart in a way, the more conflicted romantic who's kind of intrigued by these romantic possibilities that comes from getting out of your shell at home and kind of traveling. Here's the other thing. I think this is probably, along with Match Point, this is, you know, those two films of Alan's, maybe the only two out of the last 20 years worth since Crimes and Misdemeanors. They're really, I think, pop above a certain level of okay.
See,
you know, I think this is. There's something a little fresher about this. He also doesn't force the comedy. I think it's truly bittersweet.
I know what you're saying, I mean, because Woody's films were so great in the 70s, but I guess I'm in the minority. I've appreciated a lot of his later films, and I think if you took his last 5 or 6 movies and they weren't directed by or written by Woody Allen, and it was some other filmmaker, people would be saying, oh, finally, we have a filmmaker who
like
appreciates,
Scoop, as good as Scoop?
Who appreciates, you know, adult dialogue and adult humor.
It's been a little rough, I think, for Woody Allen fans lately. This film, I think, shows you that he can do a new kind of romantic comedy. It's a little fuddy-duddy in that it's a guy sort of just discovering, I don't know, French New Wave stuff like Jules and Jim. Three ways, you know. But it's better than that overall. And Rebecca Hall, terrific.
Yeah, and Penelope Cruz.
From director Woody Allen, Whatever Works, a film that succeeds where the proposal failed. This is no cookie-cutter romantic comedy. This is Woody Allen. So this is a neurotic romantic comedy, with Curb Your Enthusiasm's Larry David playing Woody Allen, or rather playing Boris, a middle-aged former physicist. Despite his desire to limit contact with other people, he finds himself sharing his apartment with Melody, a 20-something Southern beauty queen played by Evan Rachel Wood, who has begged her way into staying with him.
You know, for a little Mississippi girl like me, this is really exciting. So, what kind of genius are you, anyway?
What kind?
Yeah, like, what are your genius at?
Quantum mechanics.
Yeah, but what field? Like music?
Boris cannot figure out who he hates more, other people or himself. He's only alive today because when he tried to kill himself by jumping out a window, he hit the awning on the way down. Among his hobbies, he teaches chess with no tolerance for those lacking his mental acuity.
I want to talk to you.
Who are you?
Did you pick up a chessboard full of pieces and hit my son with it at his lesson today?
That idiot's your son? Do me a favor. Don't send that cretin to me anymore. I can't teach an empty-headed zombie chess.
Boris is touched by Melody's simplicity, her innate goodness. She softens him, but their March December romance is revolting, naturally, to Melody's parents, wonderfully played by Patricia Clarkson and Ed Begley Jr. This film lacks the pathos and insight so prevalent in Woody Allen's best films, but I'm really not sure that was the goal here. Along the way, it's consistently very funny, sharp, and observant, and I don't think you're going to want it to end. See it.
Mank, it's no secret that I'm a lifelong Woody Allen fan. One of my favorite filmmakers, somebody helped me fall in love with movies in the first place, and this is vintage classic Woody Allen. Like you said, not his best work, obviously, but a return to form in a lot of ways. He's been making movies the last couple of years overseas with Vicky, Cristina, Barcelona, and Match Point and Scoop, and here he is doing quintessential Woody Allen. It's a good New York story, and Larry David is just perfect as essentially Woody Allen.
Yeah, I don't even know that it's so much quintessential Woody Allen because it's less serious than Manhattan. It's less serious than Deconstructing Harry, so many other wonderful Woody Allen movies. It seems to me to be more of a comedy and less of a commentary. I think, though, there's a possibility that some Woody Allen fans will look at this movie cynically because they will see Larry David talking about the nature of love or the doomed nature of humanity.
And they'll feel like they've seen it before from Woody Allen. But it's good, so it doesn't matter if you've seen it before 20 or 30 years ago because it just works now. And his relationship with Evan Rachel Wood works, even though it's obviously strange and unorthodox. They acknowledge that.
And Larry David is certainly good here. I don't know that I'd go around casting him on Broadway in King Lear.
Or in the producers like on his show, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Exactly. But he does this well, and it's funny, and they really sell talking to the camera here in a way where I hate it when there's one little look at the camera and a line and then back to dialogue. Here, it's sometimes, at one point early in the film, it's like 4 minutes.
And the characters here aren't stereotypes. Don't play them on one note. They really go through a transformation, especially Patricia Clarkson, who I thought was excellent as Evan Rachel Wood's mother. Very funny film. You should see Whatever Works.
Next up for us.
us is Midnight in Paris, the 41st film from Woody Allen, for those of you keeping score at home. And it's the best movie he's made in years. Owen Wilson functions here as the Allen figure, a Hollywood screenwriter named Gil who thinks he's a hack and hopes to reinvent himself as a novelist. He's visiting Paris with his fiancée, Inez, played by Rachel McAdams, and her parents. But there are early signs that they might not be such a good fit for each other.
They're your friends, and I have to admit, I'm not quite as taken with him as you are.
Gil finds himself newly inspired by Paris and wallowing in nostalgic, romanticized notions of what it must have been like there in the 1920s. Walking around the city by himself, night after night around midnight, he finds himself drawn into a series of thrilling and surreal adventures and finds himself falling for another woman, played by Marion Cotillard. And that makes things awkward with Inez.
Gil, why are you so dressed up?
Me? No, I'm not. I've been writing. I was just doing a little writing.
Midnight in Paris is a complete delight. Charming, funny, and extremely clever. This might sound contradictory, but it's introspective and frothy at the same time.
Your father defends the right wing of the Republican Party, and I happen to think you've almost got to be like a demented lunatic. But it's like, no, but it doesn't mean we don't respect each other's views.
Wilson's a surprisingly effective stand-in for Allen, given his easygoing on-screen persona. And the strong supporting cast includes Michael Sheen, Kathy Bates, and Adrian Brody. I smiled the whole way through. Big thumbs up for me.
This is maybe the funniest film he's made in a really long time. I mean, the scene between Brody and Wilson is, I can't think of a better piece of comedy, writing and directing that he's done since maybe the 80s. So many of the scenes in this film are so sharply put together. Wilson is a surprisingly good conduit for the Allen persona. I think it's because he doesn't overdo the nervous tics that I think a lot of other people who take on maybe the Allen role in a Woody Allen movie do. And I feel like Allen has always tried to kind of to bring across this idea that he has a naive romantic side. I mean, since his early films. And I actually think that Wilson is better at bringing that side across than Allen is himself.
There's the naive side, but there's also like the nihilistic, cynical, we're all just little specks in the universe side of it. There's a lot going on here that I would love to talk about that we maybe shouldn't in terms of what all happens to Owen Wilson night after night. It is so clever and so genius and yet like deadpan, and its ideas of nostalgia and art and literature that we all have, and it toys with them just really beautifully.
But it's not like an ostentatious cleverness.
Oh, no,
this
not
movie
at
is
all.
very relaxed. It's got a very easygoing feel to it.
And the guy who is ostentatious, Michael Sheen, is the butt of all the jokes. And
Freud could have spent half his career analyzing the parallels between Woody Allen's movies and his personal life. At the age of 75, Allen is still obsessed with the foibles of the human heart. Like many of Woody Allen's best films, You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger features a narrator, an all-star cast, and multiple, sometimes interconnecting storylines. Unfortunately, this is not one of his best films.
He left me for another woman. No, a deceased one.
It's shot in London, but the locales aren't that great, and the cinematography is only average. Anthony Hopkins plays Alfie. He's a silly old fool who's thrown away a 40-year marriage and now has taken up with a hooker. I love Anthony Hopkins, but he barely has the energy here to deliver his lines. It's a very muted, kind of disappointing performance. The most intriguing storyline involved the crumbling marriage of Naomi Watts and Josh Brolin.
I can't be in this marriage.
She works at an art gallery for Antonio Banderas. He's trying to find a new story to tell. He's written one big novel that was a hit, but his last few have been disappointing. He's really struggling with this next book until one day he looks across the way and he sees the gorgeous woman who's moving in as his new neighbor.
You inspire me.
I've always wanted to be someone's muse.
Now, she's played by Frida Pinto, who just might be the most photogenic actress in the world. I also think she's a natural as an actress. She could become a huge star. But it's hard to believe that she'd fall for a schmuck like the character played by Brolin. There's nothing inspiring about these guys. And then we get a ridiculous storyline involving Alfie's ex-wife, who now is going to a psychic and believes everything this woman says to her, even though this psychic is obviously a charlatan.
There's no such thing as predicting the future.
It's almost as if Woody Allen is telling us you have to be literally delusional to be happy in life. This is a cynical, slight film. You wonder why he even bothered. Woody Allen's far too talented to make a mediocre movie, but this is just very, very average. I give this movie a C. No director in the world gets compared to his earlier self as much as Woody Allen. Even when critics like something like Match Point or Vicky, Cristina, Barcelona, we're told these films aren't as good as Annie Hall or Manhattan. Hey, how about we just concentrate on the film at hand and celebrate Midnight in Paris as a whimsical, laugh-out-loud treasure? It's one of the best romantic comedies in years. Owen Wilson gives one of his most winning performances playing Gil Pender. He's a Hollywood screenwriter on holiday in Paris with his beautiful fiancée, Inez, played by Rachel McAdams. Gil dreams of living full-time in Paris and working on his novel, and that's a fantasy that horrifies Inez. As in The Purple Rose of Cairo, there's a bit of magic here that's never fully explained because it really can't be explained. Every night at midnight, Gil climbs into a car and he's transported back in time to the 20s, where he encounters his artistic and literary heroes. While the materialistic Inez is drawn to the pedantic intellect played by Michael Sheen in present day, Gil has a jazz-age romance with Marion Cotillard's Adriana. Midnight in Paris explores our nearly universal belief that if only we had lived in a previous golden age, life would be so much simpler and we would appreciate it so much more. Of course, when you're in the middle of such an age, you're too busy coping with life to truly absorb every precious moment. The actors are uniformly brilliant, and the one-liners are smart and knowing without it getting too pretentious. At heart, Midnight in Paris is a love letter to Paris and to the romance it inspires. It's a wonderful film, and I give it an A. At 76, Woody Allen continues to churn out a movie nearly every year, and he continues his European travelogue with To Rome with Love. And though it's not nearly as inventive as Midnight in Paris, Allen once again takes us on a flight of fancy filled with beautiful sights and some keen insights. There are two main themes at work here: how to react to powerful sexual temptation when it shows up on your doorstep, and the lure of instant, overwhelming celebrity. In both cases, we're kind of talking about the same thing: intoxicating romance. This is another one of Woody's cinematic short story collages featuring a colorful array of characters in various stages of love and temptation. Jesse Eisenberg plays an aspiring architect. He's tempted by his girlfriend's best friend, who's played by Ellen Page. Alec Baldwin is hilarious here. He's a middle-aged muse cautioning Eisenberg not to fall for this little minx and her pseudo-intellectual BS. Meanwhile, Roberto Benigni is an exceedingly average and uninteresting man who all of a sudden becomes famous for no real reason. Given the current state of our culture, that's only slightly absurdist. Penelope Cruz becomes the latest in a disturbingly long line of prostitute characters to appear in a Woody Allen film. Through a slapstick mix-up, she has to pose as a young businessman's wife. And Woody Allen himself fidgets as usual and scores big laughs as a typically neurotic American who discovers an untapped opera genius and wants to make him into a huge star. Woody is clearly as much in love with Rome as he is with any of his characters. This film is beautifully shot, filled with gorgeous music, and all the talented actors deliver their lines with great precision. But there's not a whole lot here that we haven't seen in previous, richer efforts from Allen. To Rome with Love is a frothy, amusing, quirky diversion. I give it a B. Just a few years shy of his 80th birthday, Woody Allen isn't about to abandon the familiar opening titles, the music he loves, and some of the themes he's explored again and again. But 6 decades into his career, Woody is still capable of writing and directing one of the liveliest, funniest, and sharpest movies of the year. Allen blends A Streetcar Named Desire, the Bernie Madoff scandal, and bits from some of his own previous films. This is one strange, sometimes uneven, but mostly mesmerizing film. Cate Blanchett is devastatingly effective playing Jasmine, who enjoyed great wealth and social standing in Manhattan and the Hamptons, as the wife of a financial wheeler-dealer played by Alec Baldwin. But as we learn in flashbacks, it all came crumbling down. Now Jasmine's in San Francisco, broke and desperate, but still putting on airs. She's living with her working-class sister Ginger, played by Sally Hawkins, who's just marvelous. Andrew Dice Clay, that's right, Andrew Dice Clay is terrific as Ginger's ex-husband, and Louis C.K. has a nice turn as her newest love interest. There's a lot of unpleasantness and many an uncomfortable moment at play here, what with Jasmine's insufferable intolerance for anything in life that's not about her.
There's only so many traumas a person can withstand till they take to the streets and start screaming.
Blue Jasmine provides plenty of laughs, but Blanchett's performance is mostly the stuff of heavy, deep drama. It's brilliant, disturbing work from a great actress. I give Blue Jasmine an A-.
Another year, another Woody Allen movie. At this point, either you're a Woody Allen movie fan or you're not. I'm not talking about his personal life. We've discussed that a million times in other forums. I'm talking about the movies themselves. He traffics in the same territory now. That's what he's comfortable with. Cafe Society is set in the Hollywood of the 1930s and also a lot of scenes in New York. Jesse Eisenberg is a New Yorker who comes to Hollywood hoping to make a career there. His uncle, who's played by Steve Carell in a wonderful performance, is a big-time agent there. Now, back in the day, Woody Allen would play Woody Allen in the movies. Then he'd have actors like Kenneth Branagh being his doppelganger. Now he's to the point where somebody like Jesse Eisenberg is basically taking the Woody Allen role, and it's still that little bit of a fantasy element, because nothing against Jesse Eisenberg, he's a fine-looking young man, but in this world, he has to decide between Kristen Stewart and Blake Lively, who falls head over heels for him. It's funny, it's sweet, it's got some great insights about what the Hollywood studio system used to be like, and there's some really great dark comedy about Steve Carell's one of his brothers, who's a hitman, and even though it's very dark humor, it's very funny. I love the film. Cafe Society, I'm giving it 3.5 stars, A-. If you love a lot of other Woody Allen movies like Crimes and Misdemeanors and Match Point, and pretty much everything he's done over the last 15 years, you'll dig the vibe here as well.
And you sat down, you talked to him for a little over an hour, and he dealt with everything from the movie to the Oscars to Donald Trump to the Kardashians and Twitter.
That's a lot of ground to cover.
That is a lot of ground to cover.
Absolutely. You know, Woody Allen is just shy of 80 now. And as you guys well know, he came up, as a teenager writing jokes for TV shows. And then, of course, was a stand-up comic and started doing movies a half century ago. He's done 48 films that he's directed and probably another 20 that he's either acted in or produced or written. So basically, as you know, he does about one movie a year. So he's in town to promote An Irrational Man. But he's, Roe, of course, is a legendary fan of Woody Allen. And I was just talking to him Saturday. I'm like, he looks exactly like Woody Allen. He sounds exactly like Woody Allen. Same glasses, khakis. The same look, but he's all there. I thought, at almost 80, that he might be just not out of it at all, of course, because he's still making these films, but a step slow, and he was borderline affable, for Woody Allen. Wow. I mean, actually, very upbeat, and very aware of the world around him, and more than willing to talk about more than just the movie. He wasn't like, let's just talk about the film.
You start off talking about the film, right?
Yeah, in the film, Joaquin Phoenix plays a professor who's very depressed. He's on this, this beautiful campus in Rhode Island, and he's just having a hard time just finding a reason to live, and then he decides he's going to commit the perfect murder, and that just makes him just kind of love life, because now he has something to really get excited about. And, Woody Allen's kind of explored this in other movies, Crimes and Misdemeanors and Match Point and Cassandra. So I asked him, like, what is it? Because we all, I think, have that moment every once in a while. Like, even those horrible fugitives were on the run a little while ago. We don't condone anything they do, but we think, I bet I'd be better about getting away. I wouldn't go to my cousin's house 2 blocks from where the crime was committed, where they always do. So I asked him about that. Like, what is it about it that we kind of find fascinating about trying to get away with crime?
I mean, that's the stuff of drama, the stuff of crime and murder and intrigue and tragedy. That's all the stuff of drama. And so if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, there are many things I think of. One thing is ideal baseball teams. Another thing is, the 20 best movies I've ever seen. And another thing is how to commit a perfect murder, and gradually I go to sleep because I'm thinking and thinking, but that is something that it crosses everybody's mind just playfully.
I think he also, in his work, a constant theme is can you get away with doing the wrong thing, and how it plagues people with an overactive conscience that they can't, and that goes all the way. That runs through his work all the way, including Take the Money and Run, which was just a farce. But
that's a good point. And even in this film, I mean, there's clearly a lot of projecting going on, because Joaquin Phoenix is playing a professor who's in his 40s, and of course he ends up having a romance with Emma Stone, who's playing a college student.
All right, now he legendarily does not attend the Oscars, including the Oscars in the 1970s, in which he won. The Annie Hall swept.
Right.
Essentially the Oscars, and was considered, and still to this day considered one of the best romantic comedies, if not the best romantic comedy ever filmed. And he and also romantic comedies never win Oscars.
No, it's the last pure romantic comedy that did win an Oscar. That was 1977. He's got 4 altogether, mostly for writing.
So he doesn't go, and you asked him, what's that all about?
Yeah, I'm not a big awards person for work. I don't feel that one can say that my movie is better than Martin Scorsese's movie or Steven Spielberg's movie, or Martin's movie is better than my movie. Or, his movie is wonderful and Spielberg's is wonderful, and they can. I don't mind if people say these are our 5 favorite movies this year or something, but to say this is the best, I just don't believe anyone has the credentials to say that. It's very subjective. Your best is not my best,
right?
So I don't believe in it.
So what do they do then? Do they mail it to you? Do you mail one day at the office and there's a gold trophy in there and you put it on a shelf somewhere, or?
Good question.
Do you know where they're at?
Yeah, mine are in my closet, up in my closet.
Really?
But I don't really know. I guess they come in the mail.
Just like a rather heavy box comes in.
I guess you get a delivery in the mail.
Richard Roeper is with us. He sat down with Woody Allen over the weekend here in Chicago. And, of course, the biggest story in the nation, no matter what you do, is Donald Trump. And he made big news on Saturday, right as you were sitting down for this interview, right?
Yeah, in fact, I told Woody about the latest quote from Donald Trump about Senator McCain. He hadn't heard that one yet, and he had the reaction to that.
He's outrageous, and that's his MO, to be outrageous, and it's working for him. And that's not going to work in a serious way because he's not going to get the nomination, and if he got the nomination, he'd be swamped in the election. It would be a landslide against him. But he's, in order to beef up his own image and his own product, and to shake up the political process and the Republican Party, he's outrageous. He knows he can't win, and so he can afford to be outrageous. Jeb Bush can't be outrageous because, Jeb Bush is a viable contender. I don't think the Republicans really have any contender who can win, but Jeb Bush is a credible human being, but as a candidate.
And here's the Kardashian effect. You take him down this idea of like instant celebrity. What's the?
Yeah, and just the idea that people can become famous for being famous. Because of course, like when Woody Allen was coming up, he was somebody who wrote and performed and directed, and that was the way it used to be. I was just curious as to what his take would be on that type of celebrity.
Yeah, they know that being famous is in. They see that as an end. That fame itself is an end. I was satirizing that into Rome with Love, with what's his name, the great Italian Benigni, and he was famous for being famous, and people are famous because fame as an end in itself has become an object. But serious people don't buy into that. I mean, if a young woman wants to be an actress, she will not idolize the Kardashians. She will idolize Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson and people that become actresses and can act and can do something and do something. But for teenage kids at home, in some little town somewhere, and they're thinking, God, I want to be famous, and famous itself becomes the end.
All right, and then on the issue of Twitter, I love this.
I don't Twitter. I'd never be able to do it. I'd have no interest in it, or reading it, or seeing it, or doing it, or I'm too preoccupied with my own stuff. I'm shallow. I want to make the movies. I want to watch the Knicks. I want to, take a walk with my wife and practice my clarinet. I'm just not into the real world.
Practices clarinet? He's 80. He's still practicing.
Well, he's been playing for for a half a century. That he always usually is. If he's not watching a basketball game, he's playing his clarinet in a club. He told me he once lived in Chicago for a month because he was playing Mr. Kelly's and staying at the mansion with Hef on State Parkway back in the day.
Oh my God!
So but he said he's no good. So he still practices.
That's so
are you ever going to get good? And he goes, no, I'm not.